Hey guys, it's Mordecai, and welcome to this, Omega tutorial thing. Basically, I have a few tutorials from last year that will be put in this video, as well as some that I'm going to be making here in this video. Everything's going to be compiled together, and I'm going to put timestamps so that you can jump around. I will be generally covering everything in hopefully a concise way. This tutorial does not include every single way to mod Tomodachi Life, just some things. If you have any requests for future tutorials that you would like to see from me, obviously if I know how to do them, for Tomodachi Life specifically, please let me know in the comments, and I will try to do that for you. So, overall in this video, what you are going to need, just to go over it before we begin, is Attribute Editor, Kirimu, CTR Studio, your own copy of Tomodachi Life, every file explorer, and the Citra emulator. I will link everything except for the Tomodachi Life copy in the description. Obviously, I can't do that. You have to find that on your own. But let's go ahead and get started. First things first, you're going to open Citra. You're going to find your Tomodachi Life. I have my US ROM here. Right click it and press dump ROM FS. It's going to dump the ROMs, and just give it a minute. It will pop up with a window once it's finished. It'll look something like this. So you go and finished here. You can copy and paste this into a folder. I already have the things I'm going to be working on today here in the tutorial on my desktop, so I don't need to do that. But you would copy and paste this into the folder in order to get things that you want out of it. Most of the things we'll be working with today are in the model folder. Again, I go over this in depth. Let me show you what we're going to be working with today is the object barbecue, the room, and the stroller. I'll also be showing you some things I've already made, which include the apartment windows, the map news tower, the cafe in summer or spring, and the layout of the entire map. I will be showing you these things today. The objects obviously come from the object folder, which you can find here. There are a lot of different objects in here, like baby chair, balloons for proposal, beach scenes, city hall backgrounds, cafe in different seasons. A lot of things are in this folder. There's also the rooms, which are again in the room folder. You can find each one corresponding with itself. The rooms are in here. And then obviously the object is again in the object folder. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to start with our first of this video, which is going to be the barbecue object. First thing you're going to do for everything, which is all of these items, because we got them out of, except for this one, it's already decomped, but because we got them out of the fresh ROMs folder, at least that's what we're going to say that happened, we're going to open our Kirimu folder. You're going to open Kirimu, and you're going to get Karameru and open that up. Once Karameru opens, which might take a moment, depends on your computer, we're going to decomp our files. So basically, you're just going to go up to where it says Tools, Compression, General, or Nintendo, my apologies, Decompress, and then General. You can see the line here. Go ahead and click that, and then you're going to find the file that you want to decompress. So I'm going to be on my desktop, and I'm going to decompress the barbecue object. Just press save, and it'll save a decompressed version, which is right here. I'm going to keep my decompressed versions over on the left side of my screen. And Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Decompress, General. I'm going to decompress a few things at once here so I can make it easier for me to show off everything. Okay, go ahead and decompress the cafe that I'm going to show off, and I'll put that up here. I'll put the decompressed versions above the original ones. Go ahead, Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Decompress, General. Hopefully doing this over and over for you will help you sort of see what it is. The map apartment windows are already decompressed, but the news is not, so I'll go ahead and decompress that. Again, once it shows up, I'll just put it above. The apartment windows are already decomped. You can tell because it says decomp.bin if they are already decompressed. So So tools, compression, Nintendo decompress general. Gonna find my stroller object. Go ahead and open that, decompress that. And then the last thing is the room, so tools, compression, Nintendo decompress general. And where is the room? Here it is. Room. Okay, so now I have everything decompressed, and I'm going to move the decompressed objects over here, just for my ease of access, and these are the uncompressed objects up here, or the compressed objects. So, the decompressed objects can be used in CTR Studio, Karimu, and every file explorer. Alright, so we're going to begin with the object barbecue. And we're going to open up CTR Studio. So go ahead to, here's net.6.0 CTR Studio. It's going to take a moment to launch, so just give it a second. It usually takes a few minutes to launch. It's pretty typical, so don't worry if it takes a little bit. Okay, now that it's launched, you can just go ahead and grab your object, which again, the object barbecue, and I'm going to drag and drop it, and you can see that it has appeared, which it has appeared as like a plate, and in the very distance of one of these, you can see the barbecue over there. Now, it doesn't really matter that we can't zoom in really close on these things, because we're going to be editing textures in an art program anyway, so it's not a big deal. What I need you to do is click this drop down menu here, and click this drop down menu here, and then you can find the textures. I'm going to leave the plate as is. I'm also going to leave the meat itself as is. These here are called normal maps. These give like a quote-unquote textured look to a flat object. I will be changing the grill, however, to a different color. So you're going to right click whatever you want to export to edit, so you can edit any of this stuff. I would recommend leaving the normal maps alone unless you're really changing some things. But you can at least recolor stuff. I'm only going to recolor the grill, so I'm going to export the grill PNG to my desktop. It should show up here in a second. Here it is. And then we're going to go into an art program. I'm just going to open my Paint Tool SI. And then I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to open up the grill PNG to my Paint Tool SI. You can use any art program, doesn't really matter. And I'm just going to recolor this to a pink color. Obviously, I'm not going to leave it like this. I'm just showing off what I'm going to be doing. So let me just put the handle back to normal. And you can go as detailed as you want with this. It's really up to you. And then I want to get these two strips to be the right normal color as well. And then my normal. Now I can have a pink grill. Alright, and that's as easy as it is, and obviously you can add more to this if you want to go more in depth. It's completely up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and save this. I don't need to save as, because I'm just going to save it over the original, because you can get the original back from CTR Studio, or not CTR Studio, from Citra at any point that you need to. Okay, so now I'm going to close out of Psy. It's gonna yell at me, but that's okay. And we're not going to replace the texture in this program. Now I'll tell you why. In Tomodachi Life, there are some scenes that are available at day and night and dusk, etc. Things like Ask Me / Quirky Questions and the barbecuing scene are such scenes that are available at any time. Now, due to this, they have lighting that changes. If we were to replace the textures for the barbecue here in CTR Studio, for whatever reason, CTR Studio will blank out the lighting that happens in-game and make it look absolutely horrible. So, that is all to say that we are not going to be replacing the textures here in CTR Studio. Now that we've gotten the textures out from CTR Studio, we're just going to go ahead and exit it. Just go ahead and exit it. Just press yes. And we're going to go to Karimu. You're going to open Karimu and you're going to open Kuki. When Kuki opens, you're going to go ahead and drag that same object barbecue into Kuki, and it's going to show you these textures here. Now, the textures have to be a specific size, as you can see on the side. Okay, so we can actually go ahead and reopen our art program, And we do have the main texture, which is the right size, which you can see here. It's 128 by 128. And then I'm just gonna canvas, change resolution, and I'm gonna change it to 64 by 64. File, save as, and I'm gonna save this as barbecue grill 001. Just save that. And that should work and save for us properly. Yep. Okay, and then we'll just go ahead and cookie, and up here you can see where it says export, import, batch export, batch import. We're just going to import a PNG. This one's going to be the 128 by 128, so that's the 00. And then this next one is going to be the 64 by 64, so that's a 01. And then once you've done that, you just press save. And that will save your decomp barbecue. Once the decomp barbecue is saved, which you can check here, and mine is at the right time, so it's been saved, you can go ahead and you can press on Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Compress, LZ11. You're gonna find your barbecue grill, which in my case is what I'm working on. Obviously you'll be working on anything. Make sure to click the decomp version, so it'll say decomp.bin. Press open, press save. It'll say it already exists. You want to replace it, press yes, press OK. And now you have this up here. If you can check the time, 10:46, perfect. I'll put this up in the top corner. I don't need this out. I'll put this up in the top corner since we're finished with it. We will review all the items later. I will show them off in-game. And we can delete the decomp version because we don't need it anymore. We can also delete these textures because we don't need those anymore either. We have to close cookie first though. So let's go ahead and do that. Just close that. And you can see that that works out. I'm going to show you a few things here before we continue with the actual tutorial items. So I'm going to open CTR Studio. I'm just going to show some things and explain them to you without actually changing them, because these are things I've already done in previous mods and they're pretty self-explanatory. So here's the object cafe. So this is the cafe during spring. This is what the interior of my cafe currently looks like in Rainbow Waterside, which is my own personal private mod. You can see that there's tons of rainbow textures and stuff. Now this is an example of one you can do in CTR Studio. Nothing will mess up if you do this in CTR Studio. It will work perfectly fine. So it's the same as with the grill that I just sort of showed off, except you can actually replace the textures here. By just right-clicking, it'll say replace and you can replace them. You can export the textures and replace them here. There's all kinds of textures. You can see that I made some custom ones myself. Here's like a rainbow roof texture that I did. Here's my cafe menus, which you can see an example of here on the wall, right here. So everything is customized here. And again, it's the same thing with the barbecue object. You just right click it, press export. It will export a texture. I'm not going to, but it will export the texture, and then you can color it however you would like, and then replace it into the CTR Studio by just pressing replace. It'll bring up a menu and you can find your texture and press replace. Once you're done, you will literally just file save, and it will save over the decomp. You take the decomp back into Cookie and you compress it with LZ11 like I showed you with the grill. Now let me show you another piece that I've already done, which is the news station. Here's the news station. You can see that mine is customized. It's a lighter blue color, and it also has like a cute sort of anime style newscaster on the front. Again, it was the same with the textures. You can see that I did 2 different textures for the flashing whenever there's a newscast. And then there's a little bit of a difference in some of the teal colors and coloration for the steel beams. And there's another factor here in CTR Studio that you can mess with, which is the model color. So up here in news, you can actually go into the meshes themselves and find each mesh. So here's the mesh for the light, here's the mesh for the monitor, here's more monitor mesh, here's news, the news tower itself mesh. And you can find the materials under here as well for each of these, and you can locate where they go. And you can actually mess with the colors and specular lighting. I go over this in a little bit more detail in one of my other tutorials that will be in this video. And we will also probably go over this when we get to the room tutorial. So please refer to those for more details on like the different specular lighting and everything that you can do. Last thing I wanted to show off is the apartment windows that are custom. So I'm showing you these textures here in Kuki, but you actually have to use a different program in order to replace these window textures because Kuki and CTR Studio do not work for these. They do not work. I do not know why, but they don't. So I'll show you the program you need to use for these, which is Every File Explorer. You just open Every File Explorer, which I'm just waiting for it to open. Here we go, and you can open the map apartment decomp in here and you can get to the textures. You have a little button that says import where you can import the textures, and this is how you are able to replace the window textures. I do not know why it doesn't work with Kuki or CTR Studio, but I've noticed that when you use Kuki or CTR Studio to replace the window textures, lighting in some scenes breaks and window reflections, or not window, mirror reflections stop working. So if you would like to, you know, be able to replace the windows and make custom window textures for your apartments, you'll export them from here. So you just hit export and it will let you export it, and you can color and draw and make it look however you want. And then you just import whatever image, and once you're done with that, you'll just hit file save and it'll save it. And that's the basis of those things. It's very simple, very easy. If you have any questions, please ask. I know I'm not going over those in as much depth as some other things in this tutorial video, but they are very self-explanatory. But if you have questions, just ask in the comments. I'm more than happy to try to help if I am around to help. Next thing that we're going to do is the object stroller. So just like last time, I'm going to open the object in CTR Studio just so that we can see it. And here it is, object stroller. And this is the stroller that Mies will use when they take their baby places. Like when they take their baby up to the tower and stuff, this is the object that is used for that. So I'm actually going to grab the texture for the logo of the stroller, I think is probably what I want to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this and I'm going to export it, and we'll make something custom. And I can also show you how to use the specular colors, because this stroller actually uses the specular colors for its coloring. So I'm going to go ahead and make this full screen so we can actually see what we're doing here, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So for the stroller colors, we're going to go to models, and we're going to go to the strollers, not set baby, because that's not what we need. And you can see that it shows you the different parts of the stroller that have the different coloration set to them. So if you go into color, you can see that the constant is currently a orangey red color, and we can change this to whatever we want. So I am going to change this to maybe a yellow, and I like that. That looks pretty good. And you can change each one differently. So this one has a different constant that we can change, and I'm going to change this to a green because I want to make my stroller semi-rainbow colored. Then we have the back seat of the stroller, and I'm going to change this to a blue color. That looks pretty good there. Like that. We have yellow, green, blue. And then the silver is like a different specular. I'm going to leave the silver alone. And then we have the logo color, which I'm going to leave alone as well. So we have this little yellow, blue, and green stroller here. Looks pretty cute. We're not done though. We're going to open up an art program. And I'm going to grab my... Sorry about this. I'm going to grab my stroller logo, which you can't see because it's a see-through white picture, but I'll just put a background so that we can see it. It's a Tomodachi logo on the back of the stroller, so I'm just going to take the Tomodachi off. And we're going to do our own little logo. So I'm going to do something a little different for this. I can tell that my pen does not have pressure, but whatever, that's fine. I'm not gonna bother resetting it, it's not worth it. I'm gonna base this off of Mischief Makers. The Clancerling faces and Mischief Makers. It's gonna take extra time because for whatever reason. Okay, hold on, let me just reopen the program because it's being an absolute piece of dog shit. Okay, let's try this again. I'm gonna do it in Fire Alpaca since Paint.se doesn't like, Paint.se, I forgot, does not like being open at the same time as CTR Studio, so I'm just gonna do this in Fire Alpaca. But we're gonna do the same thing, just in a different program. So I'm gonna take away the Tomodachi, and I'm gonna take away the ears. And I'm gonna grab the white part. And put the brush down and just make this a white circle. That looks good, and then let's grab the eraser. So I'm gonna base this off Clancerling faces from Mischief Makers, which is basically just like this. And then we'll just do this. That'll be just an easy little logo thing. And I'm just gonna save that as a transparent PNG. Then we can open CTR Studio back up and we'll go to where the textures are, stroller logo, and replace to the new stroller logo. Open, okay. And you can see it appears on the back, and you can draw anything you want as the little logo. It just has to fit on the old stroller logo. So that's pretty simple. Now that it's finished, we're just gonna go ahead and file, save it, go ahead and press OK, and press exit to close the program. Yes. And you can find your decomp here, which as long as it has it saved at the right time, which mine does, we can go ahead and open Karimu and we can compress it. So I'm going to open Karimu and just go to Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Compress LZ11, and find the stroller, decomp, make sure it's the decomp, press open, press save, yes, okay. And then up here, Object Stroller, let's check the time it's been saved just to make sure it's right. If I can get it to do that. Yep, 10:59 p.m. Perfect. Put this up in the top corner and we can delete the other one, and I'll delete all the test files that I was showing you as well because I don't need those here. And now our last thing is the room. So this will be very interesting. So let's go to CTR Studio one more time. And here's CTR Studio open. And we'll open the room. We'll see what this is. Okay, so here's the room. And this is the family room. So this is a really nice room candidate to be customized. Now this is probably going to take a little while because there's lots of stuff in the room to be customized. So we're gonna probably do a lot of work here. Okay? Now, first things first, we want to get textures. Now, if you want to just export all, you can just export all. I'm going to export them all, and I'm going to make a folder on my desktop called Family Room. And I'm going to go ahead and export all the textures into that folder. So Desktop, Family Room, and press Select Folder, and it will export all the textures from the Family Room into that folder. Now, I'm going to close this program because I want to be able to draw in Paint.se. You probably won't have to close it if you use other programs to draw in, but Paint.se for whatever reason just does not like to work with CTR Studio open. And now you can do whatever you want with the coloring of the rooms. I don't personally do room 3D modeling because Tomodachi Life currently does not have a good function with the camera when you add extra models to a room. They block the camera and it drives me nuts, so I don't tend to do it. So I'm just gonna do some very light texturing. I'm gonna close all these other folders that I have open because it's a lot of folders and we need to be able to get to our family room folder. Here's a door, another door texture that I'm just gonna recolor to a different color. Just go like this. Like a light pink color, why not? That'll be kind of fun. Now, like I said, this is gonna take a while, and you can take your time with this. You could also like re-texture map things by changing the masks and the normal mapping. I actually go over that in my clothing tutorial if you'd like to see how to do that. I'm not going to do that for this specific room because I do like the base of the room. I just want to make it look a little different. Saturation, put down here. Yeah, that's pretty good there. So we'll go ahead and save that. So what else is in here? We have 4 pieces. I'll go ahead and just change the color of this. So maybe like a blue, like a lighter blue. Seems pretty cool. I'm not too picky about what I do with these mods. This one's for, I think, a plant. So I'm gonna just take that and this part up here and just deselect the dirt and filter those to like a lighter color. Yeah, like a green, that's pretty cool. Leaves I'm not gonna touch. Furniture too, I can change. Maybe to a purple. Now, obviously, if you want to be more organized with your room, like you want more of a, you know, you want more of like something that's actually cohesive and less me doing some random stuff, like you can do that. I can show you an example once we show off the game later of a room I've made that has a cohesive theme to it that I worked pretty heavily on, but for the sake of this tutorial I'm just sort of showing off like some easier, simple kind of things that you can do for the room in Tomodachi Life. And also here's one that's gonna be interesting. So we have this cat picture that's on the wall in the living room, and you can actually change this to whatever you want, so I'm gonna change it to something else. So I'm actually gonna go and grab an image really quick to put into the room here. I think I will grab an image of my character. This is my toad character, and it'll look really pixelated and funny because it's got to be really tiny. But oh fuck, it's done that thing where it fucks itself up. It's very frustrating. Okay. So here is the toad picture in a very small size, and we will size it to the frame. And selection invert, we'll just size that to the frame like that, and we'll save it. And now that's all the textures I'm gonna edit, and we're gonna go back into CTR Studio at 0.6, and CTR Studio, it's opening a lot faster now, which is good. Gonna put the decomp back in, and now we can actually start editing the room. And again, like I said, I didn't edit every single thing in this room, I just did some simple edits to show you. Let's make this bigger so we can see. So now let's replace some stuff. So here's the door, go ahead and press OK, and look at that, you can see it's changed. Here's another piece from the door. Yep, and that's the frame. Let's go ahead and replace the floorboards with the white ones. Look how cool. And it already looks different in here, which is really just, it's so cool how you can make such a different looking room in Tomodachi Life with very few changes. Especially if you're like me and you don't like that custom rooms with like items block the camera. Actually drives me crazy, I hate it. So That's why I only do room recolors as of now, unless someone finds some technology in which we can really change things without blocking the camera. For now, this is for the best in my opinion. Did not change that. I did change this, I think, for 10. Yes, here it is. That would be that. Then we have the basket that I changed as well. Go ahead and put those in. You can see they're like a lighter pink color now. And then I did not adjust this for the plates, but I did adjust the picture. Put that on the wall. Where is that? Oh, there it is. Cool. It'll look better in game. And then we have, there should be somewhere the, let's find it, here it is. I did this one as well. That's nice light now. I don't think I changed this one. Yeah. Okay, so now let me show you some other things you can do. You can go, like I showed earlier, into models, materials, and you can actually edit some materials on here too. So I'm gonna find some different things that I might potentially want to edit. I'm looking for these chairs. Here we go. And we can go with the specular and actually change them to white. And that changes them drastically. Here's specular for this, which we can change to a lighter color. And where might the couch be? Did I actually put a texture in for the couch? I have no clue if I did or not. I think it's this one. I don't think I did. Let's see if I can... Let's open Sai really quick and do a recolor for that couch. That might be a good idea. Let's go to desktop. Where's my family room folder? There it is. Let's see, it's this one that I'm pretty sure is the couch, and I would like it to be lighter color. So let's put that in. Let's replace the couch with this one. Oh no, that's actually the table. Okay, so then this has to be... No, that's the wall. Where's the couch then? There has to be a dark piece here somewhere that is the couch. Unless the couch might be specular. Let's take a look. Couch might be specular. Here it is. Are you specular? Yes, you are. Okay. Let's make a nice, like, pink couch. Yeah, nice little room. Looks a lot different than the original. I like it. It's nothing crazy, but it is nice. Maybe we can change the color of the walls. If I can find the color of the walls in here. Not the shading. We don't want to mess with the shading. Here's the walls. Constant is light blue. I guess I'll keep that. The specular is brown. And change that to like an orange color. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Constant emission. That's like it interesting, I think. Okay, let's go ahead and file save. Press OK. We're gonna go back to again. We're gonna go back into Karameru Karimo to compress it. So Karameru Tools Compression Nintendo Compress LZ11. Let's find our decomp room. Press save. Press yes. Press OK, and now we have our room. I'm gonna make sure it's saved properly by just double checking. Sure did. Okay. Now I have all these pieces that I'm gonna add to my personal mod, and I'll show you where to put them inside of your Citra. So here is where you're gonna put things inside of your Citra. So you're gonna go and open Citra, open your Tomodachi Life, like where it is, and right click it. You get to go to open mods location. It's going to open something that looks like this. I'm going to go to romps, and I'm going to go to model, and I'm going to go to obj, and I'm going to put the 2 objects I made in here. And I do have a barbecue, so I'm going to replace that file. Then in room 010, let's go back to model, and down here where it says room, and I'm going to put the room in there and press X. And now we have to test them to make sure that they actually worked. So let's open Tomodachi Life. I'm actually going to set the time. Right, so let's go to the barbecue. Look at that! It's pink! It worked! And you can see that the lighting didn't change either, so it worked perfect. Awesome! Okay, great. I don't think anyone has a baby right now, so I can't show you the stroller. So I apologize about that, but I can show you the room. So let's go find the family room. It's in here. Family room. Oh wait, I know the family room is a gift that you give to me, I think. Let's go help someone so we can give them the family room. We'll help Hulk Hogan, I guess. And here is the edited room. You can see like the purple couch, the pink door. There's the picture that I added. It's really cool, huh? It's very simple to do as well, recoloring and retexturing. And let me show you an example of a room that I did that was a little more involved. Let me see if anyone has it. Oh, here we go. Dexter has it. No, wait. No, Dexter doesn't have it. That's the other one. Sorry, I'm looking for it. Here it is. It's in Malenkala's apartment. This is an involved room that I made based off of Rhythm Heaven. So I can't really look around too much right now, but it's more involved. It has like a bunch of Rhythm Heaven posters everywhere. It's really fun and cool looking. I like it a lot. So yeah, hopefully these little tutorials help. There's going to be a few more in this video, so please skip around to whatever you need. Hello again. Hopefully from the last part of this tutorial you have a little bit more info about how some of the things work with some of the programs. We're going to be using Kurimu to do a custom treasure, so I'm going to show you how to do that. I've already decomped it. I showed you how to decomp items in the last part of this tutorial, so hopefully you know how to do that. If not, I can show you quickly. You go into Kurimu, open Karameru, go up to where it says Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Decompress, General, find the thing you want to decompress and decompress it. Now, I'm going to show you how to add a custom treasure. So I already have the treasure I want decompressed. It's down here, right here. And also I want to show you, if you go into Citra, where you have your dumped romps, so open texture dump file, then go to dump romps 8C300, that's the English version. And you find where it says message and you want item. You're going to copy paste this to wherever your modding folder is. I have mine here. And we're going to open Kurimu, open Karameru, and we're going to decompress that as well. Because this is how you're going to get it to say the name of your treasure. So whatever treasure you're replacing, for my instance, I'm going to replace the paint bucket. If we don't change the message attached to it, it will still say paint bucket. So I'm going to do decomp for this and put it down here with the other decomp that I have. Okay, so first things first, we're going to open, again, Kurimu, but this time open Kuki. We're going to drag our decomped treasure in here, and you can see these things, and you can also see a normal map, and I'm going to teach you how to make a normal map. So we need two sizes for each. We need a 128, a 64, a 64, and a 32. So I'll show you how to do this. I'm going to open up Fire Alpaca, and I'm going to open my image, which is this image right here, which is from Neopets. It's the Usuki eyeshadow. I'm going to go ahead and extract the paint bucket. So I'm going to go ahead and extract that. And I'm going to go ahead and put that into... That's all you need to extract. You don't need the other ones. I'll show you how to do this. And I'll go ahead and put it into here. Now I'm going to take my image that I want for the treasure and Control-C, then Control-V, and I'm going to resize it so that it fits. We want to fit it very nicely where the image ends and starts. So that looks pretty good. Press OK. We'll delete the old one. Now we're going to save this. So it'll save up here. And that is going to be the 128 by 128. You can confirm that by going to image size. It's right here. Now I'm going to do another image size of 64, not 54, but 64 by 64. And I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm just going to name this 001. Press Save As and it'll save a new one. And then, this one did not save with the transparent background, so let me rectify that. Save as 001 PNG transparent background. I do not need that one. There we go. So now I have one as 64 by 64, and we can check that in properties. Details 64 by 64. Now let me show you how to do a normal map. Alright, so in GIMP, let's just close this. Go ahead and open the 64 by 64 one. Again, you can check it by right-clicking it, going to Properties and Details, 64 by 64. It's right in here. Under Filters, there should be a normal map filter. I just have to find where it is. Map, normal map. Here it is. Click that. You'll see it'll turn into a normal map. And you can adjust this to make it look better. You can invert X, which I'm gonna do because that's how it would sit. And then press OK. Then you're gonna File, Save As, and this is gonna be a PNG. It's, hold on a minute. File Export. Where's the export button? Export as. There we go. And I'll save this as 002, which is the bitmap size. So just export that, and it should show up here. And then we have to do a file, change the canvas size, if I can find where that is. Image, canvas size, and we're gonna do 32 by 32. Never mind. I don't use this program that much. There we go. Scale image 32 by 32 scale. Okay, and then File, Save As, not Save As, File Export As, and we'll do this as number 3. .png and export. Export that. Alright, great. So all that is done. We can close that completely. We're going back into Cookie, and we're just gonna import, which is this little button here, import our images. So the first one will be 00, which is this one, and then the second one will be 01, and the third one will be 02, and the fourth one will be 03. There we go. Now go ahead and press Control S. And you can also save if you don't like doing that. And then go to Tools, Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Compress LZ11. And we're going to compress our treasure, which in my case is treasure 117. Save, yes, okay. Now we can close Cookie, and the treasure, if done right, should be compressed, which it was. So I'm going to move that up there and delete the decomp version so it doesn't get cluttered. And now we need to change the name of the treasure in game. So I have a full list I will link in the description of like names of things from in the game and where you can locate the files, etc, etc. We're gonna go back into Karimu. This time we're gonna go into Karameru. Open Karimu from here. And it'll open this. We're going to drag and drop our decomp, which this is the decomp? Oh, my bad. Karameru first and drag it in here. You're gonna go to where it says arc base. You're gonna find where it says treasure, description, name P, and attribute. I'm not gonna change the description of this treasure right now, but you can let it be known. But I will show you how to change the name, which I will extract, and the name P, which I will save, extract that as well. I guess I'll go ahead and show you how to do the description as well. Why not? Then you can close this. Now we're gonna open these in here, so I'm gonna not make a backup because I don't need it. Now I'm gonna find Control F where it says paint bucket because that's the name of this. So here it is, paint bucket. I'm gonna replace that with Usul glitter. Well, I can just call it Usuki eyeshadow. Press save, and then we're gonna open the next one, which is here. Just making sure I save that. Right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and find paint bucket and go Usul eyeshadow again. Press save. Remove that one, and then the description. Go ahead and find the paint bucket, and we'll call this doll up your Usul's eyes with this fancy color. Sparkly color. Okay, and then we'll just fix the error and press save. And then we'll open Karameru back up, close Karimu, put back in the decomp bin in here, go to arc base, and you're going to right click name, press replace, and find your version that you just edited. Here it is, treasure name. Okay. Replace again for name P, find name P, press open, press OK. The description, replace, find the description, press open, press OK. Press Control S, it will save. Then as always, we're going to do a tools, compression, Nintendo, compress LZ11. We're going to go down to item US, decomp, and press open, press save, press yes, press OK. And that will save the names of the treasures as well. And so you can get rid of the decomp now, you don't need it. You can get rid of all these textures, you don't need them. And then we have the LZ bin here, and if you check, it has been saved at the right time, which is great. I'm going to go into my rainbow water side, which is my personal mod, and I'm going to go to model first. We're going to go down to item, and I'm going to put the item in there, so the treasure. Then I'm going to go to the message, which is here, and I'm going to go to item, and I'm going to put this in here and replace the file and the destination. Then I'm going to grab the whole thing, which is this, and I'm going to go to Citra, I'm going to go to mod folder, I'm going to delete the old one and put in the updated one. I always recommend keeping backups of your old ones. I already have a backup. And then we're going to test it and see if it works. And there it is! It worked! Yay! Very nice. And that is how you add treasures to Tomodachi Life. And if we actually go to a Tomodachi Life, I mean, they're not going to drop this specifically, but it's just to show you. Let's see if anyone wants to play a game. Let's see if I can win the game. So we can see if I can get them to drop the a treasure, just to show you how custom treasures work. That did not go very well. Yep. So thank you for my, well, she gave me a custom star effort sticker, and that is one of my custom treasures, so you can see how they work. Okay, let's see about the treasures. So she'll drop some treasures for us, and you can see all the custom ones here so that they work. So very nice. Alright, hopefully the rest of the tutorials will be helpful to you. Thanks again. Hey guys, it's Mordecai and welcome to another Tomodachi Life tutorial. Today we'll be going over how to make custom treasures and custom food items for Tomodachi Life. My cat is here, so if you hear purring in the background, I'm not sorry. He likes to purr and he cannot be stopped. But we're going to be going over how to make custom food and custom treasures in Tomodachi Life. Things that you're going to need for this tutorial is you're going to need a image editing program, some sort of, you know, something like Photoshop or a drawing program. Basically anything you can edit images in. You're going to need a ROM of Tomodachi Life. You're going to need Citra, or, you know, an emulator that can dump ROMs. You're going to need CTR Studio if you want to do a side method I'm going to show you. You need Karimu. You will need GIMP and a normal map plugin as well. And I think that's it. So, first things first, I already have my treasures and foods picked out. But if you don't have them yet, the first thing that we're going to start with is opening up Citra Emulator. Might take a minute to load, just give it time. Okay. Once it's loaded, you're just going to find Tomodachi Life, whatever version you play on, and go ahead and right click it and dump ROM FS. After you've dumped the ROMs, the file the file folder, excuse me, that you're going to find the items in is model, item, and in here is where you can find the food and where you can find the treasures. So you would just go through here and you could reference the Tomodachi Life ROMs document that's right here. You could go to treasure textures and reference this to find out which one you want to replace, and the same thing with foods. You could reference this to find out which ones you want to replace. For me, like I said, I already have mine selected, so I don't have to worry about that. So for the purposes of this tutorial, let's go ahead. I have food number 101, and I have a few treasures that I'm going to replace on my own time, but for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to be replacing treasure 58. So now at this point, the next thing you're going to do is open up Karimu. So open the Karimu folder and then find Karameru inside. Wait for it to load. Now once Karameru is open, go ahead to Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Decompress, General. You gotta find your folder with your items in it, and I have mine right here. So go ahead and click the item you want to decompress and press open. Press save. It'll say it's to decompress the item, and I'm also going to go Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Decompress, General, so I can decompress the treasure items, since I'm doing both in this video to show you some tips, tricks, and also what not to do from my own experience. We'll get there. We'll get there. Anyways, once you have decompressed both of these items, you can move Karameru to the side. Don't close it, just move it off to the side. And now we have our decomps for our food and our treasures. For the food, I'm actually going to show you a method using CTR Studio that has worked for me. For the treasure, I'm going to be using Kuki. So we're going to be doing this one at a time, and I'm going to be telling you things along the way. First things first, I'm going to open CTR Studio. Now this is the part of the video where I'm going to show you some lovely screenshots from my game. Do not, under any circumstances, use CTR Studio to replace the textures of treasure items. As you can see in these screenshots, when you do, the game has an absolute fit, destroys me bodies in the menu, and the textures of the items coming out of the bamboo boxes when you win a game look awful. Do not use CTR Studio to edit treasure items. You can use it for food, which is what I'm about to show you, but do not use it for treasure. Please, I beg of you. Now that CTR Studio is open, I'm going to drag in the food 101 decomp and wait for that to load. Once it loads, it's going to look something like this. It's a black vertex, like sort of mesh box with the image on top. In this case, it's French fries that I'm replacing. And you can replace this with whatever you want, but there are some restrictions, so I will show you exactly what those restrictions are. So we're going to go to textures, and I'm going to right click textures, and I'm going to export all. Once I export all, you just find the folder you want to export it to, in my case Rainbow Waterside, which is my mod project, and that's, you know, what we need to do for now. You're going to have the normal map, and you're going to have the picture of the food itself, and I'll tell you how to sort of navigate this in a moment. First thing we need to do is you need to open up your art program or photo editing program, whatever you have. In my case, I'm using Toyhou.se. So go ahead and open that up, and I'm going to open up the food item. Now, here's the important thing about replacing food items. As you can see in CTR, and I'm going to pull it up so I can show you, the black box that this food item is occupying is very much right on the edges of this image. On all sides except for, yep, even the top. So all sides of this image are perfectly, like, very much, almost perfectly aligned with the image itself. So whatever you're replacing that is gonna go in here needs to be aligned with this image of the fries, or else it's gonna clip and look bad in game. So let's say that I wanted to replace it. I'm just gonna draw something to illustrate my point here so that you understand what I'm saying. Let's say I wanted to replace it with, like, this orange blob. Okay? This is not going to work, and I'll show you why. So press S, and we go in here, and I'm going to press replace. Remember, this is just an example. And I'm going to press OK. Look, it's cut off at the top, and it looks like shit. So this is basically what I mean by saying, like, you need to make sure that your image is aligned with whatever you're replacing. Because if not, you know, it's gonna cut off. You can see it cuts off right here. It's gonna cut off that image. You don't want that, because that's just gonna make your mod look unprofessional and it's gonna look bad. So anyways, I'm gonna close this test one and reopen it. You don't have to do this, of course. I was just showing an example. But I already have something I want to replace these fries with. At this point, you could draw your own items. You could find items online, like I did, just from Google, blah, blah, blah. I already have an item prepared for this, so I'm gonna go ahead and open that up. So what I'm gonna replace this with is these little Mario, sort of like popcorn bucket things that can hold, like, fries and popcorn and other stuff. They're just like little Amazon trinket things, but I really liked this toad one. I think it's really cute, so I'm gonna use this one for my mod. Now this image has a background. It's not a PNG, so we do need to actually go ahead and sort of clean this up. And I picked one with a background specifically to show you how to clean things up. So first things first, because I'm using a program that doesn't show alpha, I'm going to just make the background color that so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to erase as much as I can from this, which is about that much. And then I'm going to clear the selection. I'm going to erase all the other popcorn buckets. Just erase them all so I can see the background color I have. And the toad one is still rough. There's some jagged edges. It doesn't look very clean. You know, there's like these shadow parts and some stuff up here by the like popcorn mix. We don't really want that. That just looks really bad. Now, because my paint tool side doesn't like CTR, I'm gonna go ahead and close that for now. But if you're using like Photoshop or GIMP or something, it'll be fine. But for me, paint tool side does not like CTR Studio. I don't know why. But basically, you're just gonna run your eraser tool down the image and get it very clean. I've been drawing for all my life, so I'm very used to, you know, steady hand strokes and stuff. If you're not an artist, just take your time. It's really, you know, it'll be okay. Just take your time and make it look as clean as possible. Don't rush. And we're just gonna follow the popcorn lines at the top here. Doesn't have to be perfect because this popcorn is rigid, like, you know, a very rigid, bumpy texture, so it's okay if it looks like a little bit bumpy and rigid, because that's sort of how it is anyway. We just want to get rid of all the white parts, because that doesn't look very good. Get rid of this little section, and that looks really good to me. So now that we have that, I'm going to delete these two background files out of here, and I'm just gonna select the Toad popcorn bucket that I have edited. Just Control C and then go over and Control V, and it's gonna be way huge, which is not what we want. It's gotta fit into the proximity of this. So I'm gonna do some editing to make this fit. Squash it just a little. Don't do too much because you don't want it to look bad. This, I think, just like a little bit shorter, and this might be good, but we'll test it. So go ahead and save that, and I'm gonna open back up CTR Studio now. Just open that up, and we're gonna test this. I didn't mean to open Steam. Going to test this in the actual like CTR Studio. So go ahead and put your food decomp back in there. And I'm gonna try testing this Toad texture. I'm gonna hit replace and test this. Ugh. And yeah, it looks good. It's not clipping off. So I'd say that that is pretty good. Alright, so before I actually show you how to replace the entirety of this in here, we need to make a normal map. Okay, so we're gonna open, I'm gonna close this for now. We're gonna open up GIMP, which has the normal map plugin. I will have it linked in the description, as I did in the clothing tutorial. It's just a really useful tool for making normal maps out of your images. But essentially, we're going to grab our image over here. I'm gonna grab my image that I edited of the Toad food bucket right here. See all in its glory. And I'm gonna make a new layer in GIMP, just a new layer, put it underneath of the Toad one, and then it should look like a white background with whatever your image is on it. Go up to filters, go to map, go to normal map, and we're gonna make a, I need to merge these first. Merge the layers together. Then go up to filters, map, normal map, and it should look something like this. I'm gonna put mine up to 2 and press OK. So now it's gonna look like this. Go ahead and file, export as, and I'm going to save over the Food 101 NRM that we already have. So go ahead and export that and hit replace. Press export. And it should export it. So now you have both of these. Now we can actually go into CTR Studio and replace these in there. So go ahead and open CTR Studio, and this time I will explain to you exactly what you need to do, because we're not testing anymore. So go ahead and open the item Food 101 decomp by pressing the arrow, and then press the arrow on textures. You're gonna hit the first texture and press replace with right click, and then find yours, which mine is the Toad popcorn bucket. Leave all these settings alone and press OK. So that's the first thing. And then you're gonna go to the Food 101 normal, right click, press replace, and replace that with the normal that we just made in GIMP. Leave it as high-low 8, don't touch it, and then there you go. You have a lovely popcorn bucket time, fun time, little guy. So you're gonna go ahead and press Control S and save that and press OK. And once it's saved, you can close CTR Studio. And for the food item, we can actually recompress this. So we're gonna go back to Caramero, press Tools, Compression, Nintendo Compress LZ11. Find your food 101 or whatever food you're replacing, decomp, press Open, press Save, press Yes, and press OK. And now you're gonna have it saved. Mine's at 612, which is what this is. And you have this. So I'll delete the decomp now, and I'll delete the textures. And once I'm done with the treasure, we'll test both in-game. But now we're gonna move on to the treasure. So we have the food done. Next we're going to do the treasure, which is going to involve Kuki. As I said earlier in the tutorial, please do not use CTR Studio for replacing treasure items. It will break your game. You can use Kuki to replace food and treasure. You don't have to use CTR Studio at all. If you don't want to, you can use this method for food and treasure, but you cannot use CTR Studio for treasure, only food. Personally, it's up to you. If you want to do food in Kuki or CTR, just remember the constraints about the image size and everything like that. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and open Kuki, and I'm going to show you exactly what we're doing here. So find your treasure item decomp and drag it into Kuki, and you're going to have 4 images. You're going to have 2 images of the actual item and then 2 normal maps. You're going to have one size 128, one size 64 by 64, normal map 64 by 64, and a normal map 32 by 32. You do not need to export all of these. You just need to export the 128 by 128 one. So go ahead and export that to whatever folder you want. And you're gonna have to export by clicking this export PNG the 64 by 64 normal map. So go ahead and export that. And you'll have both of these. Now I'm gonna open up my drawing program again. I'm gonna close out of this toad thing that we were doing earlier, and I'm gonna open up the flower, which is what I'm gonna be replacing. I have the image ready on my side desktop for what I'm going to replace this with, which is a Jiggy from Banjo-Kazooie, because fuck, I love that game. Now, we're going to go ahead, and this one is actually, doesn't have a background. It is transparent. I can show you that it is. You can see it's transparent. So I'm going to go ahead and just Control-C, Control-V this, and we're going to resize it. Again, just remember the constraints I talked about with the food, where you don't want this item to be bigger than the item you're replacing. In my case, I have a little bit of leeway here to just make this a little bigger. We're lined up with the bottom of the stem. The eye can be a little bigger to line up with the top of the flower petals, and I think about there should be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then we also need a 64 by 64 version, so you're gonna go up to Canvas, change resolution, and do 64 by 64, okay, and file, save as. I'm just gonna save this as 64 and save that as a PNG, and with the alpha on. And after you've saved both of those, you're gonna go to GIMP again. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up GIMP. Once you're in GIMP, you're gonna find the 64-bit version of your item, because again, you could, if you remember, the normal map we exported was 64 bits. So we're gonna go ahead and do a normal map of this. So I'm just gonna make a new white layer, fill with white, press OK, put it underneath the image, and then merge the image down with a right click. You can just right click on it and hit merge down. So at this point, you can go ahead up to filters, map, normal map, and I am going to do a normal map. I'll just do one for this. Press OK, file, export as, and we're going to replace this one with the 64 times 64 version of the normal map you saved. So go ahead and replace that, export it, should export, and then we also need another one. So you're gonna go to image, scale image, and we're gonna do 32 by 32, press scale, and we do file, export as, and I'm gonna name this one 32. export. Now we have all the images that we need, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of these two art programs and go back to Cookie. Now that we're back in Cookie, you're going to go to the top of the list, just click the first image in the list, and then go up to this little import button. You're going to import the biggest one to the top, and then click the next in the list, go to imports, going to import 64, then go to the next one, import. You're going to import the bigger version of the normal map. And then import one more time at the bottom and import the 32 version. So now you should have a 128 version of your image, a 64 version of your image, a 64 version of your image map, like your bump map, and your 32 version of your bump map as well. Once you've done all this, you can press Ctrl S. It should save. Once it saves, it will usually scroll back to the top of the list like that. And once it's saved, you can close out a Cookie. So go ahead and close that. Go to Tools in Karameru, Compression, Nintendo, Compress LZ11. Find your treasure. In my case, it's Treasure 58 Decomp. Go ahead and press Open, press Save. It'll ask if you want to replace it. Press Yes. And then press OK. And this should be good. Yep, 6:18 p.m. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and delete the other two that I did, like all, you know, the decomp and all the images. And now we have these two items that are ready to be tested in game. So I'm going to open up Citra, and I'm going to go to Open Mods location. I have some mod stuff in here already, but if you don't, what you're going to do is go to Romps. You're going to make a folder called Model with a lowercase m. You're going to make a folder called Item with a lowercase I, and you're going to put these two things in there. I'm going to copy paste mine so I can save a version backup just in case I need them. So go ahead and Control C and then Control V. So I have food 101 and I have treasure number 58. Okay, we're going to open up Tomodachi Life and see how this works. Okay, once we're in Tomodachi Life, you're gonna go over to the food store. I have a file here that has everything unlocked so we can easily check out like items and stuff. So in stock, and my second tab is where the French fries should be, I think. Here we go. And there we go. It's in game and it's working, so that's good. So obviously the name and the description is not changed. That's a separate thing. And I will show you how to do that momentarily. But this is working, so this is a good test to see if it works. And again, I will show you how to change the name and everything momentarily. But that's working, and I'm gonna go and check the treasure list. Should be in collection, and then in treasures. And it should be replacing the carnation here. There we go, look at that! That's great. I love it. Oh, it's so cute. He's so cute, little jiggy guys. They're adorable. Alright, perfect. So they're both working now. We do want to test one last thing though. And that is we want to go into like someone's house and we want to try to give them the food. Just to check and make sure that the food doesn't have any texture problems. Sometimes I've had this issue in the past, but we're just gonna check just to make sure. So French fries. Alright, it looks good. It doesn't have texture problems, so I think we're good. So we can go ahead and call that a success. Alright, cool. Now I'm gonna show you how to do the renaming, which is like a separate thing. And I'll go ahead and I'm gonna put first my textures into their folders so that I have them in my mod pack because I will be using them. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these away. And I'm gonna go ahead and open message. Okay, so yeah, alright. I already have mine set up, but for you, you would go ahead into the dump ROM S in Citra again and dump your ROMs. Once you're in here, you go to message and then you go to item and you right click this and you copy it and you paste it over here. And here's your item, US English. Okay? Once you have that, you can exit out of these folders and go to Tools in Caramero, because you shouldn't have closed it. Compression, Nintendo, Decompress, General, Item US English, and go ahead and press Open and Save. It will open this. Once it makes the decomp file, you just drag that into Caramero, and it's gonna look something like this in here. You're gonna have an arc base folder and an arc voice. Arc base is the text on screen. Arc voice is what the Miis say when they, like, what the Miis say, like what the text to speech says for the item. We're gonna focus on the arc base today. So go ahead and extract arc base. Go to whatever folder you want it in. I'm gonna put it in my rainbow water side folder. Arc base, and in here is a bunch of different like attributes and descriptions and names. So I'm gonna go to Karimu, which is up here in the top corner of Caramero. Go ahead and open that. This is the text editor of Caramero. So we're gonna drag in food name. I'm not gonna rename the treasure in this tutorial. It would be the same sort of thing down here in the treasure section, but I'm gonna focus on food, and you can apply your knowledge that you learn here to the other sections of this file. So we're gonna go ahead and put food name in here, and it'll ask if you want to back up. I'm not gonna create one, but it's good practice to create one. Once you have your food name in, you're gonna see tons of different like things in here. Now just press Control F, and we were going to look for fried tofu, fried potato. Fried potato is French fries, so I'm going to rename it to Toad Snack Box. And then just press Control S and it will save. Next, you're gonna put food name P in here. And you gotta look for that that same, whatever you're replacing, of course. Mine's fries, so fried potato. And then again, Toad Snack Boxes. This is, the food name P is like the what would you call it? The, plural version. So you can see it's like donuts, chili peppers, chocolate sundaes. So when you're typing in here, you're typing the plural version of your food's name. So mine wouldn't have the apostrophe, it would just be Toad Snack Boxes. So Control S. And then one more thing is the food description. So you go ahead and move that over, and I'm not gonna make one, but again, we can. And we're gonna find fried potato, here it is. And I'm going to put, this is a cute little toad themed snack box that can hold all your treats. And press S, Control S. And that should work pretty good. And now, after you're done editing everything and saving it, you would just exit out of Karimu. Now, in Caramero, we need to replace the items inside of here. So I'm going to right-click food name, press replace, find mine, which is in here, food name, press open. It'll tell you it's been replaced. Then food name P, replace, find mine. Down here, food name P, press open, press OK. Food description, replace, arc base, and food description, press open, press OK. Once they're all in here, you press Control S and it should save. Once it saves, just go ahead and Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Compress LZ11. You're gonna find your message file for items, which is Item US English in my case. Press that and go ahead and press Open, press Save, yes, and OK. Now I'm going to delete the arc base because I don't need it anymore, and here I'm going to delete this decomp. Well, I have to close Caramero, but I'll delete this. And now we have the item US English, and I'm going to go ahead and open Citra back up and we can test that. So open mods location, romps. If you don't have a message folder, just make a message folder with a lowercase m, make an item folder with a capital I, and put that in there. And now we'll test and see if it works. Alright, so we're gonna go into the food mart. Here it is, Toad Snack Box. It's a cute little Toad themed snack box that can hold all your treats. And there you go, that's renamed and recategorized in the list, and it has its own description. And again, you can do that same thing with treasures, with rooms, with hats, with clothes. Like I showed you in my clothing tutorial, you can do that with all of them. So hopefully this tutorial helped you. Again, just remember, in most cases, for items and treasures, like for just items in general, treasures, foods, the little items you give to the Miis for gifts like the mirror and stuff, using Cookie is your best bet. It's your best practice because you have issues with CTR Studio sometimes. The issue I found with CTR Studio is like sometimes it creates duplicate textures. For example, with the treasures and the screenshots I showed you earlier, the treasures were creating tons of duplicate textures that they didn't actually need, and that was breaking the game. So in general, using Cookie is your best practice. You just need to make the different file sizes that Cookie requires. But for food, I've generally not had an issue in CTR Studio, but for other items, I have had issues. So, you know, it's up to you, just use your best judgment, but for treasures specifically, do not use CTR Studio.
Hey guys, it's Mordecai, and today I am going to be doing a tutorial about making custom wigs for Tomodachi Life. I recently did a tutorial on how to make custom clothes retextures. This tutorial is going to focus on actually importing models into the game, so it's going to be more of a full model tutorial as opposed to just retexturing. Hey, just wanted to add a quick little note here to give some credit to the third Sergevich for the original Wigs 101 tutorial. This is how I learned everything I know, and even the third Sergevich themselves helped me to fix some errors and gave me some tips and stuff, so much credit to them for all of their help in learning how to do 3D wig modeling and such. You can check out the written tutorial on Game Banana, and I will leave a tutorial link under the description if you would like to go and read it. Again, as usual, I make these video versions for people who need to have visual guides. Programs you're going to need, everything will be in the description below. CTR Studio, Karimu, Citra emulator, a copy of Tomodachi Life, particularly a ROM, Blender, and that's really it. You have a few resources, a few options. If you're not going to make your own model, like your own hair model, and you want to import something, you can use Modeler's Resource online, or you can just find 3D models online in other ways. I personally have some game rips that I ripped myself earlier, and also some rips from Modeler's Resource as well. We'll be going over texturing and some rules as I go along, but just to state some things up front that are very, very important. The vertice count for your model needs to be around 1,100 or less. You can only have 4 materials or less in CTR Studio. You need to keep your textures as 128 by 128, and you should import your textures as ETC1A4. I will go over everything in more detail as we go along. For now, first things first, I need to open a model and show you how we're going to get sort of the basis for our wig and like a sort of guide so we know exactly what we're supposed to be doing. So, we're going to open up Citra emulator first and foremost. Gonna find wherever you have your Tomodachi Life ROM. In my case, it's right here. Just right click it and press dump ROM FS. Once this folder pops up, you're going to go into Model. You're going to go into Headwear, and we're going to find Headwear 120. Now you can afterwards rename this to any number to replace any item in game, but Headwear 120 is specifically the Mohawk wig, which gives you a nice scalp base to work with. That's why we're going to use it. So once you find it, just press Ctrl+C. I'd recommend making a new folder somewhere and putting your items inside of there. So I'm going to put the Headwear 120 inside of a new folder. After this, you're going to go back to Model and go to Object or OBJ. Scroll down until you see M Headwear. Press Ctrl+C and paste that in your folder as well, so you should have Headwear 120 and Obj M Headwear in this folder. Personally, I have a lot of DAE files for different wigs and different things, as you can see in here. Lots of different extracts. I'm going to be using one of my BC models, and I'll show you how to actually extract that using CTR Studio shortly. I'm going to pick one live, so it might take me a moment. For now, we can close Citra, and we're going to be opening CTR Studio next and Karimu. So just open both. Specifically Karameru for Karimu, and then CTR Studio as well. And I'll just put them next to each other on the screen. You're going to, in Karimu, go to Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Decompress, General. Go to that folder where you put the headwear and the headwear object inside of, and in my case it's this one. And you're going to extract both of these, so I'm going to go ahead and extract headwear 120 first. Just hit save, it'll tell you if it's successfully done it. Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Decompress, General, and then Object M Headwear. And go ahead and do that one as well. And that's all we need Karimu for at the moment, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. In CTR Studio, I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop my decomp in here, both of them. You can just do both and then they'll both appear. And what we're going to be doing is going down here to texture, or not to texture, to model, my apologies, to models, and where it says Headwear 120, plus right click on it and press export. I'm going to export mine to my folder where I have the other stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and press save. It should export the DAE as well as a bunch of textures. I'm going to do that for M Headwear as well. So models, right click, export, DAE. Now I have all this stuff in here. I'm not going to close CTR Studio yet because I do actually need to unpack another model. Like I said, I have a bunch of stuff in here, and I can actually have a look at it. You can see I have different things. Some of these are from Aikatsu games, some of these are from Precure games, just a bunch of different options for hairs. I really like this one actually, and I think I'm going to go ahead and use and extract this hair from Precure. With BC MDL files, you can open them in CTR Studio, and it's the same thing. You just go to Models, and then you find the model, press Export, and it'll export it as a DAE, which is what I'm going to be doing with this. Now, inside of my folder, I will have that available to me as well, which is right up here, and all the textures are also in here. There's tons of different textures. I don't need all of these, because obviously I'm not going to be using the face. But it just gives you all the different eye textures and stuff. We only, for my purposes specifically, I only need the hair itself, which is available right here. Now that we have that, everything is sorted out, I'm going to go ahead and close CTR Studio, and we're going to open Blender. From here, it's very important to do things in a specific order. It keeps things nice and in line and clean. And it's just going to help a lot. So first thing I would recommend doing is going to Edit, Preferences, open Interface, hit Status Bar, press a little arrow next to it. Should be a button that says Scene Statistics. Go ahead and check that. What that does is down here in the bottom it shows the vertices, faces, and triangles. This is very useful because, as I said earlier in the tutorial, we need to keep our vertices at around 1000 or less. After that, you can close the Preferences tab, and you should have this workspace. When I first opened, I didn't really explain, so I'll show again. There will be a cube, a light, and a camera. You can collect the bottom item in that list and then click the top item while holding shift and just press delete to get rid of all that. You don't need any of it. You should have a clean workspace. Go up to File, Import Collada. And we're going to find the extractions we made. Here's my folder and here's my 3 extractions. The first thing you're going to import is Headwear 120. I would recommend doing that first. As you can see, it's in here now. We're not going to touch it yet. We're going to import our other things. So go to File, Import Collada, and import M Headwear. It should sort of go right perfectly aligned with the mohawk wig. Now, at this point, we can open both of our armatures with the little arrows next to where it says armature. And we're going to delete ID 05 and ID 04. You could just click them and press delete. And we're also going to be deleting ID, not ID 01, just ID. That should leave this blank. You should have these 2 parts of the mannequin and this part of the scalp. Next, I'm going to go to File, Import Collada, and I'm going to import my hair. So here's my hair, import it. As you can see, there's still a model attached to this, so we're going to have to do a bit of work, but I decided to use a model that still had some other parts attached so that I could show you how to get rid of this stuff. It's rather simple, but it'll be nice to have the knowledge. So in this case, obviously, we just want the hair. We don't want this facial model from the Precure model. So I'm going to open the armature for this, and it seems, luckily enough for me, that some pieces of her face are on their own layers. Not all of them, though, and I'll show you how to deal with that. But for the pieces that are on their own layers, I'm just going to delete them. Just click them and delete them, not the armature. That was an accident. Now we have this left over. I'm going to hide. You can hide things by pressing these eyes, by the way. I'm going to hide these pieces on the sidebar. And I'm actually going to go ahead and go up to where it says Object Mode and press Edit Mode. Should show you all these vertices. In order to click specific sections, you will hover over them with your mouse cursor and press L. And it should click specific sections of vertices. We're going to do this for everything that's not the hair because we don't want any of it. Once you've clicked things, you can press X and select Delete Vertices, and that will do what you need it to. I am making very certain, taking my time, making sure that I actually click the proper things I want to get rid of, and not just everything. And I think I also don't want these wings either, I just want the hair itself. You can do any sort of things like that you want. For me personally, I just want the hairstyle itself without any accessories on it. And you could also append other accessories to this hair as well if you wanted to. Like getting another model file and putting the accessories, but we're not going to be going over that in this tutorial because that's not really the point of what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to take some time before we actually begin to go in and have a look just to make sure there's no scattered pieces anywhere that shouldn't be here. This back part of the bangs is actually not, we don't need this, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete that because you won't see it in game. And also there's ears in here. I can tell that these 2 pieces right here are ears. So I'm going to try to see if I can select them. They're being stubborn. If they are being stubborn, you can press this square tool with the 2 squares inside of each other. This will give you an X-ray view. That way you can actually pick up things that the game is, or that Blender isn't letting you pick up. Because in my case, I do not need these little ear pieces. And that looks pretty good there. I'm just gonna have another look. Yeah, everything seems clean. Alright. Once you've cleaned up and gotten rid of all the pieces you don't need, the next thing that we're going to do is go back to Object Mode. Select just the hair, not the armature, but just the hair itself and whatever accessories you have. Press Shift, click the hair, drag it up to the armature of the mohawk wig, press Alt, and drop. this will put the hairstyle into the Mohawk Wigs armature. Then you can go back to the armature where the hair came from and delete that. Now that you have your hair armature in the right place, we're obviously going to be needing to resize this and putting it in the proper placement on the me head. So I'm going to go ahead and make these visible again so I can see. Click on the wig and I'm going to go to scale on the side. If you hover over it, it'll tell you what it does. And we're in object mode. So you can just scale down. This takes some trial and error because we're obviously looking for very specific scaling and we don't want any, like you can see right here, there's some poke through. I can also fix that on my own and I will. But this can stand to be smaller actually. Take some time and don't rush. Just take your time and try to figure out what looks the best to you. You can also use these squares to squish and stretch the objects. I actually like this placement. This back hair though is a bit long for me's, and I'll show you how to have long hair without it clipping like so deeply, because that would be very long for short me's. I'm just checking things, making sure we're not having any issues. It looks good overall. Okay, let me show you how to shorten this back part. Click the wig, go to edit mode, and I'm gonna get like a nice view here, and just click and drag so it selects the vertices. Now you're not going to select all of them, so obviously we're going to go back into this mode up here with the two squares, X-ray, and do it again. Now we've selected everything. And in my case, I think I'm actually going to go a little bit higher up because it is a really long wig. So I'm going to go up this high, and that seems pretty good to me. Then we're going to go to scale. Then we're going to scale it like this, using the blue square, which is the y-axis. Or the z-axis, my apologies. And gonna just, after you've scaled it, just use the arrows in the move tool to move it up. And you can make other adjustments. I rather like that it's sticking out like that though, I think it's kind of cute. But once you've adjusted it, and you like the length, you're good to go. And then the next thing is we're gonna do some like little cleanup. So while we're still in edit mode, up here I'm noticing some like clipping into the head with the wig. And if I actually move it, you can select everything by pressing A. If I move it, you can see that it doesn't clip anymore, so I need to actually do those adjustments. Now it's not clipping through anymore like that. Looks a lot better, it's sitting nicely. I think it's pretty good at this point. In terms of vertices, we're actually under 1/1000, which is good. And that's even with the mannequin one. If you turn the mannequin off, you can actually see that in object mode that we are way below, or like way closer to 1/100 than we would be with it on, which is at 1396. So go ahead and turn the mannequin off, and I'm going to show you a method of reducing vertices. One method is to be in object mode, click the hair and press X. Retake. One method is to go to edit mode, press A, then press X, limited dissolve, and that will get rid of some of the vertices. If we go back to object mode, you can see that we're down to 1333, whereas before we were at 1185, so it did help a little bit. You can also do that limited dissolve and go to this little panel down here, and you can actually make it more effective. Now if you do it too much, you can see that it breaks the model. So be kind of be generous, but also be mindful of what you're doing. And when you're doing these things, you can see right here that there is a little bit of like something sticking out. You know, just make sure to check. That's why we check. But it looks good. I don't see any holes or anything. So I think I'm going to go ahead and maybe do a little bit more. Just check. because there can be seams that come through as you're doing this, so you just want to be a little bit cautious. I'm gonna go ahead and say that that's good though, and I think it does look good. I did just notice this error down here though, which means that I need to pull back the wig a little bit. And that seems to have fixed it. Everything looks good. We're at 1167. I'm going to show you yet another method, which is to be in object mode and click on your hair. Go over to this blue wrench icon called modifiers. Go to add modifier, generate, and decimate. You can do one of these options. Collapse will collapse everything, and you can see that there are holes forming from this collapse. So you gotta be kind of careful. You don't want to, like I said, ruin your mesh. And you can also do planner, which is different, and it will also add holes, but I can show you how to fix them. I'm at 1100 now, and I think 1031 is the right place to be, but you can see there's a hole here, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. Once you have it decimated, even if there's holes, you can go ahead and go to this little drop down arrow and press apply. Now, as I said, there's holes. I'm going to check around just to see if there's any other holes that we need to fix. Doesn't seem like it. I think that's the only one. So we don't have too much to worry about. Okay, so we have this seam here. You're going to go to edit mode and find where this little seam is, which it's like right here. Now, there's a few methods. You could just click the little dot, which is the vertex point, and go to move. You could just move it over, like that way it just sort of like closes the seam of the hole. But you could also do something a little bit better, which is to go up to this magnet looking tool and press it. Then this menu next to it that sort of looks like a long line with lines through it. Click that and click vertex. Now when you click this white circle, it will snap to other vertex points, and that will close up the holes. Snap, that closed. Once it's closed, you can go to object mode and have a look at it, and look at that, the hole's gone. You can turn off magnet mode now just by clicking the magnet again. Everything looks good. I'm happy with this, and I think it's looking almost ready. We have another thing to do before we can export. Just doing another check with the full mannequin, because again, this sort of represents like the me head. Bangs are kind of low here, which in that case I can just pull them up, which I like that position a lot better. That way they're not so low on the forehead. Okay, so at this point we're going to be going to UV editing, but first go to edit mode, then click UV editing, then press A in this side of the screen. You can see that it shows me personally my texture sheet and like where everything sits, all the UVs. This sheet is much too big, so we're going to do image and we're going to do new, and you need to from 128 to 128 and press new image. Now you can sort of see how it's laid out. You could edit your texture now at this point, but I already know that CTR Studio is going to accept this, so that's all you really have to do. Then you can go back out to layout, and you should do some final checks just to ensure that there's no holes, there's no seams, there's no ripping, everything looks the way you want it. Once you feel satisfied, find the armature of the mannequin, so this part here, and we're going to delete it, and we're going to delete the items inside of it. Now we have this. Now one last thing before we export. We've gotten rid of the mannequin. We just need to make sure that there's nothing left over in this model. It has one material, which is good. And the vertex groups, we don't need any of these, so just press this little arrow and press delete all groups. And that should be everything. You can just check over everything, make sure there's nothing weird sitting around, but that looks good to me. Once you are done, click the bottom piece of your list, and then hold shift, click the armature, go to file, go to export collada, find a folder to put it in. I'm going to put it in the tutorial folder that I made. I'm going to name mine Precure. Press selection only, and press export collada. Should say it exported however many objects, in my case 1, 2, 3. And keep Blender open. Do not close Blender, because sometimes you will have problems that you need to fix in Blender, and if you close it, it's just a nuisance. So keep it open. You can save a backup file if you'd like to, but I'm just going to keep the program open. From here, I'm going to open an editing program. I had a texture open beforehand. Just open like Photoshop or a drawing program, something that you have that can manipulate images, basically. For me, I need to find in here the image from the wig that I had ripped from the Precure to use, and it would be this one right here. And now I'm going to open it in here, and I'm going to canvas change resolution to 128 by 128. Press OK, and it should sort of squeeze. It'll look kind of bad, but when it's actually applied to the vertex of the model, it won't look bad at all because the vertex is already resized. In order for the game to pick up color, you know, it needs to be a gray. So I'm gonna go to filter, hue, and saturation. I reopen my program and put the image back in, and I'm gonna go to filter, hue, and saturation and turn it gray. Just press S. There would be more work to do here if I kept the crown and the wings, but I did not. If you have accessories and stuff, that's a whole different story. I might make a tutorial about that at some point, but for now we're just going over basic wigs. Okay, so the texture has been resized and it is gray now, so it can pick up the colors of the game. We have our DIE saved, and we are ready to go to CTR Studio again. So go ahead and open CTR Studio. And once it's open, we're going to be putting in the Headwear 120 decomp. Once that's open, you're going to go ahead and go to Headwear, Models, and then click this one. Right click, replace, and here's my Precure. I'm going to press open, uncheck import textures and uncheck import vertex colors, and press OK. Here it is. Okay, once it's in here, we have a few things that we need to do. First thing is we're going to open up textures. We're going to click the first texture, which is 120, and then down to Headwear Temp Dummy, right click and press delete. You don't need any of those. My texture is already imported, but if yours does not import on its own, you can right click textures and press add. It'll add a new texture. Once the texture is added, you right click and press replace. Find your texture, press open. Now you need to make sure that it is in one of the following formats. It either needs to be in etc 1 or etc 1A4. Or if it's a bump map, it can be L4, I believe. For my purposes, I'm going to be doing etc 1A4. Do not, under any circumstances, ever use High-Low 8 or RGBA 8. Those will crash the game. Don't use them. It's too much resources. Everything looks good. There's a little seam at the back, which is exactly why I said not to close Blender. Because now that I've identified this seam, I'm going to go fix it. And it's very easy to do. You just reopen Blender. And in my case, I'm going to go back here and be like, oh, look at that. There it is. And I didn't notice it earlier. And I can also see a seam right here as well. Earlier, I taught you how to fix seams, and I'm going to do that same method. Turning on the magnet tool and fixing the seam. So I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit and see if I can find the right... Doesn't seem like there is... Okay, so in cases like this where you don't have a... like a vertex to clip to, as these two don't have anything to clip to, would just recommend turning the magnet tool off at first and lining them up as closely with the straight line as possible, which is what I'm gonna do. Then you can turn the magnet back on and clip them together. This right here isn't really a case of clipping as much as it is just position, so I'm just gonna move the wig back like a few centimeters, and that fixes up the hole that was there a little bit more. Remember, anytime you want to select the entire wig, you're pressing A. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Okay. Fix is applied. We're going to go back to object mode. Click the bottom of the list. Shift click the armature, file, export Tomodachi, and just save over your old version. You can go back to CTR Studio, right click, replace, precure, turn off vertex and textures and press OK. And there we go. Nice and fixed. Check everything else. Everything else looks good. Okay. And again, just for the sake of making sure, I am going to re-import this texture and make sure it's etc. 1A4, because the texture being the wrong format is oftentimes why my game does not like it. Alright, but obviously we don't want to put this in our game as it is because, I mean, it doesn't have any textures. So you're going to open Meshes and Materials. ID01 is obviously that's the scalp. And the scalp is currently connected to MT Hash. Head 02 is currently connected to H10, but we don't need H10. We only need 2 textures because this wig doesn't have accessories. So we only need 2 materials and only 2 textures. But let's go ahead and click H10 and delete that. Remember that in CTR Studio you can only have 4 materials for wigs and hair accessories and hats. Any more than more materials and it will crash. But this is looking pretty good so far. And actually I'm just now realizing that these are little hair ribbons. And I didn't know that before. And I can actually do something with that to teach you about accessories. So here we go. We're going to go back to Blender and tangent about accessories. Okay, here we are back in Blender. Now that I've realized that these 2 pieces of things here are ribbon, we're actually going to separate those so that we can use them as their own colored accessories, which is going to be pretty fun. So it's pretty easy. Just click on your wig and go in. Just click on your wig and press Control D or Shift D actually. Sorry, press Shift D, and it will. Hold on, fuck my balls, ass, dick. Press Shift D and it will make a copy. While you're holding Shift D, just click and now you have a copy. We're gonna turn off one of the copies and go to edit mode. I'm gonna press L on each of these ribbons and then press X to get rid of them. So this version has only the hair. You can see that there's still little pieces, so I'm just gonna get rid of those as well really fast just so we have a nice clean model. There we go. Now we're going to go back to object mode and turn the other one on and this one off. And then go back to edit mode on the second one, and this one I'm going to delete all the hair pieces and leave the ribbons. You can do this in parts, just take your time, make sure you're not deleting any accessory pieces. And then we have just the ribbons. So now you have both of these parts on separate layers. Now that you're done that, you literally just click the bottom, shift click the armature, and re-export it. So go ahead and export Tomodachi, export Collada, go back into here and replace the mesh once again. So replacing headwear 120 with your own wig, uncheck import vertex colors and textures, and press OK. Alright, so now we have 3 here. So we have the scalp, we have the ribbons, and we have the hair itself. This is actually great because this is a teaching opportunity about accessories. Okay. Now, inside of the MT hash, I'm going to actually full screen this. go over to where it says calm. You can delete this stage 2. Just press X and press yes. Just delete that, you don't need it. And then you can leave the rest of this alone. Essentially what this does in game is constant 0 here has the Mii's skin color. Constant 1 here is the object color, so whatever color displays in the store, like red or green, you know some items can change colors, that's what this one controls. And then constant 2 controls the Mii's hair color, so if you use hairspray on a Mii or whatever Mii maker hair color you have, constant 2 here controls that. So we're gonna keep this at constant 0 because this is for the Mii's skin with the scalp. You're gonna go down to the ribbons, and we actually do need 3 materials now, so this 3rd material is useful. I actually am going to start with the hair one though, which is the empty spec. Go to text, and you're just going to click on these little image names, and then go to this image icon and press none, because we don't have those textures here anymore, we don't need them. Then go up to the top one, press the image button, and press the texture for the hair that you have. Now if you have separate textures for your accessories, just remember that you can right click textures and press add and add them in. Make sure they're 128 by 128 and either etc 1 or etc 14A. Do not use any other file types, it just will not work. Just don't do it. Okay, so then after you have this, you can go over to calm, and you can go to this texture thing, change this to texture 0, and then change this to RGB. That'll change it to using the texture. Go to the hair mesh, which is 1 in our case, and change the texture to matte spec. Now you can see that it is here. It's working and it's applied. But I don't want it to be controlled by the colors. I want this to be the Mii's hair color, so I'm just going to go down to where it says constant 1 and change this to constant 2. And I'm also going to refresh the texture by going to texture, click the first one, go down to UV settings, UV coordinate map, click something else, then click shadow and click it again. It just sort of refreshes the texture a little bit. Everything's in the right spot, and it should work out pretty well. Now I'm going to right click the spec that we just edited, and I'm going to click copy. Copy everything, don't uncheck any of this, and then paste it in the 3rd one, which will color these little hair ribbons. Now in the hair ribbons, I want this to be the colors in the shop, so I'm going to go ahead and change this to constant 1. And I'm going to go into the texture, make sure that this is okay. You can reset the texture by changing the coordinate index. Go back to the calm section and press save to buffer on this one. And then you can see that it actually applies. Now, here's what we've sort of got going on. We have the hair itself, which will be the Mii's hair color. We have the accessories, which will be the shop color. We have the scalp, which will be the Mii's skin color. I'm going to go ahead and show these different calm settings on screen, so you can pause and have a look at what each one is, just so that you can copy them to your own accessory sheets and materials and models and things. Going through the textures just to make sure, and here's one that we don't have. Anything that shows up with the blue little icon here, we don't have it, so change anything like that to none. Okay, everything else looks good though. Now that we're done with everything in here, just remember some troubleshooting methods before we even go into testing, because sometimes it just fails and you don't know why. Troubleshooting method number 1 is texture sizes. Are your texture sizes 128 by 128? This one is not, because this one came with the game file of the Mohawk wig itself, but anything you import needs to be 128 by 128 with no exceptions. 2. Are the textures etc 1A4? Make sure they're not RGB 8 or high-low 8, because that will not work. So make sure you check when you're replacing textures, make sure you're checking what format it is, because this format right here will not work, and this format right here will not work, and this format right here will not work. Just stick with these two. for anything that is like this, and you just don't chance it, because it could mess up. It could really mess you up and throw you off. The third troubleshooting method is in Blender. Make sure that you have under or around 1,100 vertices. In our case, we do, so we're okay. And then the fourth troubleshooting method is to ensure that you have less than 4 materials max in CTR Studio. Those are the troubleshooting methods that I know of. There's probably other things that can affect how models work, but just keep those things in mind specifically. Now we're going to export, because we feel good about this. We're ready to test it in game. So we're going to go up to File, and we're going to save. Just hit save. If you hit save as, it will not work, so do not hit save as, just hit save. It'll say that it is replaced 120 decomp, so press OK. You could just lower this, you don't need to close it, because we might need to come back in here for troubleshooting. But now this decomp is our custom wig. So I am going to open Caramero again, so go to Cremo and open Caramero. Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Compress, and LZ11. Find your wig decomp file, which in my case is this one. Press open, press save, press yes. It'll say it's successfully compressed. Press OK. Now, I want this to replace something else that isn't the Mohawk wig. So I'm gonna pull up the Tomodachi Life romps. I will link everything that is useful will be linked, I promise. Let's see, what do I feel like? I'm gonna replace the straw hat. No, Chino bucket hat. I'm gonna replace the Chino bucket hat. So this is headwear 003. So you're gonna go to your headwear, headwear _headwear 120. Press that with a right click and press rename. And I'm gonna do 003. Okay, so now it's renamed. You have what you want to replace. I'm going to click it, press Ctrl C, and we're gonna open Citra again. In Citra, find where you have Tomodachi Life, right click, open mods location. Should open up the romps folder, open this. You should have this stuff in here, but if you do not, you would make a folder called model with a lowercase m, and inside that folder you would make a folder called headwear with a lowercase h. Open that and press Ctrl V to paste in your custom piece. Don't close that folder because you might need it. And then open Tomodachi Life and we will give it a test. So I'd say it definitely still looks a bit interesting in game. I'm gonna need to smooth those textures out. I'm not super happy with how rough that looks. Oh, it's very cute. Now let's see if this works. It seems like it's positioned properly on the head in the menu, which is a great sign. If it is if it's positioned properly on the head in the menu, that's a great sign. Let's try giving her some food and see if she accepts it without crash. She does. And then we're gonna leave the room after we level her up, because usually leaving the room is where you will see a crash happen. So we'll see if that works out for us. And it did. So let's go locate model ski on the beach. And look at that, she is working perfectly. So this solidifies that the wig is working and that you are okay. So at this point, you can just keep it in your game and use it. Anyways, I really hope this was helpful and showed you how to do some wig customizing. You can apply this to hats and other things, but those things work a little bit differently. Hey guys, it's Mordecai, and welcome to Spazzy's Classroom. Today I'm going to attempt to make a tutorial to teach how to make custom clothing textures for Tomodachi Life. To be clear, this tutorial is to retexture pre-existing clothing, not to make new clothing models. I am going to go over how to extract files, how to find the piece of clothes you want to work with, how to recolor and use the texture sheets that Tomodachi Life provides, how to adjust the colors that a clothing piece can be, and how to rename it a custom name and give it a custom description. All that stuff will be included in this tutorial. The things that you are going to need is CTR Studio, Kirimu, the attribute editor from Abdi. You're going to need a copy of Tomodachi Life, Citra emulator, a drawing program or photo editing program, and I'd recommend getting GIMP with the normal maps add-on. So the first thing is that we want to pick what clothing item that we're going to work with. So I have the Tomodachi Life ROM FS documentation open. You can see everybody that worked on that here. They're all people who've worked on the Tomodachi Life Enterprise mod, I'm pretty sure. And we also have the Tomodachi Life fandom wiki open so that we can see the different clothing that's available for us to use as a base. I'm going to go into the feminine clothing and just have a look around. I'm not looking for anything super specific at the moment because I just sort of want to make something that sort of gets the point across simply. I think for the purposes of this tutorial and keeping it as easy to understand as possible, I'm going to use this camisole dress. And now that I've identified what piece of clothing I want to use, I'm going to open the Tomodachi Life ROM FS documentation, go to the clothing tab, and Control F. I'm just going to search for camisole. And there it is. Now some clothes are not documented in here, and if they aren't, you're going to have to go through a bit more work to try to find them in the game's files by checking like every single file, and it's just a lot. But for the most part, most if not all of the American clothes are documented here. It's just some of them are missing, so anyways, let's find our simple camisole dress. Here it is. The number is the most important thing for us right now, which is 315. You're going to open up Citra emulator right here. You're going to find where your Tomodachi Life game is. Here is, this one is the English version, which is what I'm going to use for this. You're going to right click it, and you're going to press dump ROM FS and wait for it to dump the files. Once it's done, it should open this window right here. You're going to go into model. You're going to go inside of body. And you're going to locate the number that it says on that list. So again, my number specifically for the clothing I'm using is 315. Yours may be different depending on what clothing you're using. So I'm going to locate 315. I'm just going to click it. And I'm going to press Control C. For the purposes of this mod, I've made a folder on my desktop to put everything in. I'd highly recommend copy pasting whatever you're working on into a separate folder for ease of access, and so that you're just keeping all your mod stuff in a separate location. Now we need one more thing from the dump, from the Citra dump. So go back to ROM FS. Go to 8C300, which is the USA version of the ROM. You're going to go into Message, you're going to go into Clothes, and you're going to copy this Clothes US English. Just press Control C and paste that into that separate modding folder. So you have body _ body, whatever number you need for your clothes, and Clothes US English. So we have both of our pieces. We can close the dump now, we don't need it. We have both of our pieces in here. I'm going to go ahead and close Citra. We don't need it for now. We'll need it later, but not now. Next, what we need to do is open the Kirimu folder. And specifically, we're going to open Karameru. Once Karameru is opened, you're going to go to Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Decompress, General. You're going to find whatever folder you have your files in. Click on body _ body, whatever number yours is. Press open, and then press save. It's going to say it successfully decompressed it. Press OK. And that's all we need Karameru for now. Don't close it, just put it down in your toolbar. So now we have a decomp. This is what we're going to be working with for the remainder of this, for the most part. So next I'm going to open CTR Studio. You're going to drag and drop your decomp into CTR Studio. It should show up looking something like this of whatever clothing item you chose. And you can see here that it is the camisole. Now, I'm going to go ahead into the textures folder under the body folder. And I'm just going to export all 3 of these textures. You just right click them and hit export. I'm going to put all mine into that folder I made on my desktop. You need all 3, so make sure to export all 3. Alright. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close CTR Studio. You can leave it open. For whatever reason, my Paint Tool SI program does not like working properly if I have a CTR Studio open. So I have to close mine and just periodically open it throughout my process. But that's okay. You can keep yours open if your drawing program doesn't fuss over it. But I'm going to go ahead and close this. But I have easy access to it on my desktop. So now I have all 3 textures. The first thing I'm going to do is right click in the blank space inside the folder, create new folder, and I'm just going to make a new little folder here called 256. And you'll see why later. Put all 3 of the textures you dumped into the 256 folder. Next, go ahead and create new folder. Call this one 128. And then one last folder, and call this one 64. These are all 3 important numbers that will come up with the texture process once we get. I want to give some credit to the original creator of the custom clothes tutorial at this point, which is Windstriker. You can look at the custom clothes tutorial written out on Game Banana, and it tells you a lot of information. It's just very condensed. I wanted to make this video version because I personally learn better by being able to visualize things instead of reading them. Next, you're going to open your drawing program of choice. Again, you can use anything. Anything that you can draw in and save different resolutions in. Any photo editing programs, you can use anything like that. I'm going to go ahead and open my 256 folder and put all 3 textures in here, so that I can explain to you what all 3 of these textures are for. Let me just enlarge these so that we can get a better look at them. Tomodachi Life textures are quite small, but it makes sense because the game is originally for a 3DS, so the screens aren't very big. Alright, so we have this body, whatever number yours will be, 0, body 1, and body norm. Body 0 is for basically the colors and the patterns of the texture that you do not want to change. I will explain what this means in just a moment. As you can see on my specific body 0, there's the bottom of the foot and the shoe itself. These 2 textures right here go hand in hand. This texture sheet right here shows the changing quote-unquote factors as well as some unchanging factors. And let me just explain this in like normal people words. So the black part of the texture sheet right here is what is going to show through from this texture sheet. So anything that's black on this texture sheet will pick up items from this texture sheet up here. So this bottom of the foot area will be completely this. That will show because it's in the black space on that texture sheet down there. This, you can see, has a dark green. This basically means it's going to apply Tomodachi Life's color system to this area, which means that like the base is white, but it will apply, like, for example, if this dress came in pink, it would be a light pink because it would be applying over white. Anything that is this hard green color is going to appear as the colors that Tomodachi Life is able to select. Now, these are different shades of green. That's because if in Tomodachi Life, if you have a sort of transparent green, it will sort of do different shades of the Tomodachi Life color. The best way that I can show you this is from my own custom content. So here's a custom outfit that I made. I'm really proud of it. I really like it. You can see that there's light green sleeves right here, as opposed to a more dark fresh green in the actual shirt part. On the texture sheet, specifically this one with the greens, the dark green part of the shirt would be a very light green, so something like this up here. Whereas these sleeves would be one of these darker greens, because the darker green is actually quote-unquote a see-through green, which then would in turn make these areas a lighter version of whatever color the Tomodachi Life color system has in place at the time. And you could see this with other colored items of the same collection of clothes. It's picking the main color and then a lighter version for the sleeves based on how you color this green texture sheet. For the camisole dress, it all colors a light color over this white, so it's a bit see-through, as in this color is quote-unquote see-through. So whatever pink you pick will be a very light shade of pink because it's being applied over white. Now, the red part of this is where the Mii's skin is. So any part that you want to be Mii skin, you would color red. This over here is the arm area. This up here is the hand. This is like the bottom of the hand. Obviously this is like the neck and stuff. And then this is the skirt. This is the sort of foot of the shoe, and then the little area around it is the shoe. And then this is like the leg. So again, green areas are where the Tomodachi color system is going to apply colors. Black areas are going to take whatever image is from this texture sheet and apply it to this area. And then red areas are the Mii's skin. Lastly, over here we have the normal map. This essentially adds quote-unquote texture to your model without actually having to model said texture. For now, I'm actually just going to color this all the same color because I don't want the textures of the original camisole to show when we're testing our different textures. So for the sake of actually showing you something that is going to be, I guess, a good example of the different types of textures that are available here, I have sort of prepared an image that I'm going to use, which is this image of a star from Mario. Now again, you do not need to use pre-existing pictures, you can draw. I drew my own outfits myself. I actually sat down and drew them and stuff. But for the sake of this, I just wanted to prepare something that was simple. So the best way to do this and be able to see where things go on each sheet is to actually just take a copy of this and paste it here. And then just put it on its own layer and put it down in opacity. That way you can see where things go. And then after that, I'm actually going to take this star and on the white sheet, remember we're working on the white sheet, not the red sheet. You're going to go ahead and paste that and put it where you want it. So I'm going to just resize this. And I'm actually going to put it on the front of the dress. I'm just going to put it down here for the sake of this. So let's put it here. Right here. Okay, so that's where I want my little star to be. And then let's say I want like a pair of gloves. Remember, anything you draw on this specific sheet, this one, is going to stay the color or the, you know, whatever it looks like, it's going to stay like this as long as it's black on this sheet. So, let's just add a pair of gloves that do not change color. And we'll go ahead and we'll just make like the bottom of this black. So I'm just gonna go ahead and draw a black square. Again, I'm on the layer that I have the star on right now. And then I also want those gloves to extend over the bottom of the hands, so I'm just gonna color this black as well. And we'll just keep those gloves black. So these gloves will stay black because they're on the white texture sheet. We just have to make sure that we color that area black, which I'll show you how to do in a moment. But let's see if there's anything else we want to add to this. Maybe let's do another Mario star. Let's go ahead and do this. So let's copy and paste this, and we'll just do another Mario star. Let's do one on the back of the canvas, so just a really small one up here. Okay, now that I have everything in place that I want, we could go ahead and actually just delete the red and black layers, and you can see that's just a very basic little thing. And all the new stuff, you don't want to merge it with the original picture just yet. You want to go ahead and copy paste all your new stuff, so just go ahead and select Control-C and Control-V it onto the red and black and green texture sheet, and then preserve the opacity of this area and just color it all black. And again, if you remember what I said, anything black on this sheet will show whatever is on this sheet. So that means these two black stars will actually show the Mario stars from the other sheet. And the black areas here will show our black gloves from the other sheet. Let's also say while we're at it that we want... maybe we want to change the shape of this camisole a little bit. We can do that ourselves. I actually don't want it to be this light color, so I'm going to take a normal green. And I'm going to go ahead and just change the shape of this so it's not so defined in this area. Just going to change the shape of it. And also, you can completely remove the straps. You can change anything. And in fact, for the sake of this, I think I will. I think what I'm going to do is make this a strapless dress for the sake of this little thing. And remember, if you keep your new items on a different layer, this stuff will just be a lot easier, so I'd just recommend doing that. So I'm just going to color this with the green so that it's a very like bright color in Tomodachi. You'll see exactly what we're doing momentarily. And then we'll just do probably something like this, because this is all sort of the connecting areas. And again, you can test this. We will in a moment. I'm gonna get rid of the sleeves entirely and just make this like a tube top looking item. Now, this does look very, very messy. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and clean it up. So I'm gonna take just my selection tool and find the points of which I want this to be cleaner. Just sort of like use that as a guide to make straight lines. That way it's not as rough of a thing here. You can see that just looks a lot cleaner and a lot nicer. Okay, so we've done some edits, and we're gonna go ahead and save these edits. Just save all three. And let's do some testing in CTR. So we just opened CTR Studio again. You might not have had to close yours, but like I said, my Paint Tool side doesn't really like CTR Studio for whatever reason, so I have to close mine. But regardless, we're just going to go ahead and open the decomp body again. And in order to see how things are looking, we just have to go into the textures and just replace the textures with the ones we made. So the first one is the body 3150, which I'm going to press OK. And you can already see that it's showing up, but it's not quite right because not all the textures are in place. So we're going to go ahead and replace this again, and we're going to use our version, which look, you can see that it's sort of changing. Now, obviously I want mine to be more like a tube top, so we're going to have to edit more of this because this isn't exactly what I want it to be. So I'll have to edit it down lower. And you can still see that it's got this like texture. That's just because of the normals, and if we get rid of the normals, that texture will be gone. And this is sort of how it's looking so far. It's nothing crazy because this is just for the tutorial. But you can see that it has the star right where I put it, and it has the no sleeves, which I do need to fix, and the star on the back, and the black gloves are appearing as they should.
And you can still see that this area is colored. So that looks okay so far, but I want to do some more adjustments, so I'm just going to close CTR Studio and go back to Paint. I really want to edit this and make it more like a tube top, so I'm going to go ahead and take the skin, which is red. Remember that everything on this that's red will show the skin. And I just want to make this like lower. Probably down to here. When it comes to editing textures for Tomodachi Life, you just want to take your time. It's a lot of back and forth between your drawing program and CTR Studio, which is perfectly fine, because when you take your time, you can make it look nicer. And I took my time when I made my outfits that I've made so far. I made a Princess Peach dress and a rainbow outfit so far, and I like both of them a lot. I think they both could use some refining, even more so than I already did, but I do think that they look pretty good. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just doing something very simple. Okay. Let me put the normal in. And this is still too high. I'm gonna have to take it down even lower. For the sake of this, I just want to do something different so that you can see that you really can edit these outfits to insane degrees. And even though this was a camisole, you can add sleeves to this outfit. For each me outfit, there is no like, there's no modeled sleeves or anything like that. Even if the outfit has sleeves, it's all done with the normal mapping. So you can really do anything you want with these. Just gonna put it even lower. I think maybe just to be on the extreme end of things, because it seems like I need to be. I'm gonna go down to that low. Might be a bit too low, but you know, we'll see. And I think I'm just gonna put the star here, maybe as like some sort of like belt type of accessory or something. Now, we're doing a lot of changes to this, which in order to do changes to this like this, we actually do need to edit up here as well. So because I'm moving this star, I need to move the star on the main thing. So I'm gonna move it here, and I think that'll be pretty good finalized. And again, in order to reference it, I would just recommend copy and pasting it to the other, and then you can just easily move stuff around without a hassle. So then I'm just gonna select this little star and line it up as good as I can with the other one. That looks pretty good, and then just delete this version. Save everything and put it back into CTR Studio. You know the drill there. Yeah, that is actually just where I would like it. Alright, so this feels good. So we have this little star like decal on the back. We have our star on the front. We have our gloves. We have shoes. I didn't do too much editing on this, but again, just remember that you can go crazy and edit this as much as you want. You always have CRT Studio to check and see how things are looking, so if something doesn't look the way you want, you can always just open back up your drawing program and continue editing. You can change the shades of green to change the shades of Tomodachi Life colors. You can see that in my outfit right here. It's using a blue color. Up here the blue is very vibrant, and down here the blue is very light, depending on the different shades of green that are used. You can change where the skin shows, so you can even make like a midriff, or you can change like glove designs. You can make tattoos on the arms. You can make different types of straps or sleeves. You can make socks. You can make different types of shoes. It's all open for you. These two texture sheets go hand in hand. What about the normal map, you might be asking? Well, that's what we're gonna do next. Alright, so once you get to like the finalized version of your outfit and you're like, yes, I am ready, okay? I am good. I feel good. I'm ready to, you know, I'm ready to put this on the game. Well, not quite yet, because we need to make our normals. I'm gonna close out of CRT Studio. And now, normals are a bit interesting. You want to combine your two images here to make a normal map. This is why you want to keep your images as clean as possible, so that the normal map isn't insanely odd. So that's why I advised you not to combine your images just yet, and keep them on different layers as you're working. So I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to put it on this. And I think I'm also going to grab just this little part up here of the shoe and put
put that on here as well. And I'm actually think that's pretty good, and I'm gonna go ahead and file, save as, and I would just call this like GIMP because I'm using GIMP, so I'm gonna call that GIMP. This is a completely separate thing to your normal textures, so don't save over your real textures with this. Okay, so here we are in GIMP. And now that we're in GIMP, what I'm gonna do is take that that GIMP file that I made and just drag and drop it in here. Once it's in here, you're gonna go up to filters, you're gonna go to map, and you're gonna go to normal map, which again is a plugin for GIMP that you can get online. I'm not gonna tell you how to install it. There are plenty of guides on how to install it. It's not very difficult at all. And even in the README of the download, I'm pretty sure it tells you where to put the files. Now that you have this, you can see a 3D preview of your what it's gonna look like. I like to invert the Y if I feel like some things are like wrong, like I want the star to be poking out as opposed to poking in. And I think I'm also going to put the sample up to probably about 3, make it more vivid. That seems okay to me. I'm going to press OK. And you can see it's turned into a normal map. Everything is included. But this area over here where the shoe is, we don't really want an indent like that right there. And that's really easy to fix. I'm not going to fix it in GIMP. I will fix it in my drawing program. So I'm going to go ahead and export this out of GIMP and just save it over the normal map that we already have. Just export it, replace, and go ahead and export that. And that's all we need GIMP for, so bye-bye GIMP. Discard changes. And now I don't need this GIMP file anymore, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to drag all 3 back into our program because now we need to make sizes for our images. So this is why I had you make 3 folders earlier. One called 64, one 128, and one 256. Because we need 3 sizes of each image. And before we do the resizing, I'm actually going to fix this area. So, just because of the fact that I placed that one white piece over this, it's made sort of an indent. We don't really want an indent in our Mii's feet, so we can just sort of remove that. You can use the colors that are already there and just sort of get rid of that so that it doesn't have that indent over your Mii's feet while they're wearing the shoes. I ran into this problem with my outfit as well, where I had an indent on the Mii's stomach. It was really easy to fix using this normal map. That's pretty good. Even though it's a little weird right here, you won't really notice it. Everything else looks good to me, so I'm gonna go ahead and just save that. Now, all 3 of these are our 256 version, so we need to resize them. In Paint Tool Site, it's really easy. You just go to Canvas, change resolution, and hopefully there's a change resolution in your drawing program. First resolution we need is 128 by 64, so I'm just going to change all of these to 128 by 64. Paint Tool Site automatically restrains proportions, so it will automatically do 128 by 64. Then you're going to save as and go to your 128 folder and just save a copy of all of these with the same name into the 128 folder. So go ahead and save. Then we got to do one more, which is to change it to 64 by 32. by 32 and 64 by 32. Same thing, you're just going to save as and go to your 64 folder and save them in there. The reason I like to make the different folders is because it just sort of helps keep things organized. You don't have to, but I would highly recommend it so that you don't get confused between which size is which. We're going to just do one last check in CTR Studio before we move on, just to make sure everything looks good the way that we want it to look. So go ahead and open that decomp again and put in your textures like we've been doing. So go to replace it. Just use your 256 textures for this. You don't need to use the other ones to check anything. They're all the same. Okay, so this looks good, and you can actually see now that there's definition around the star, there's definition around this area right here, there's definition on the gloves. That's what the normal map is for. It adds this sort of quote-unquote modeling without actually changing anything about the base model. It just makes it look 3D without the hassle of actually making it 3D. It's really cool. So everything looks good to me. I like it. I think it's pretty good for just a simple, you know, tutorial project to show the basis of how to actually work with it. Everything on the edges looks good. I don't see anything weird. Alright, I think this is good. So now we can just close out of CTR Studio and just, yep, close the program. Now, remember Caramero that I told you not to close earlier? Well, now we're bringing it back up. Okay, so you're going to open up Caramero again and go over to where it says Cookie and click that. Let's open a new window. And you're going to drag the decomp into here. It's going to show you textures. This is where we're actually going to replace and save the textures. So, I'm going to go ahead and from the top of each one down, it goes 256, 128, 64. You need to go over to this button over here that says Import PNG and press that. And we're going to start from the very top. So 256, we're going to open that and import it. And again, import PNG 128, import PNG 64, and do that for all three. 256, 128, and 64. And lastly, again, import 256, 128, and 64. Once all that is imported and you've checked it over to make sure everything's correct, just press Ctrl S. It'll take a moment. Once it's saved, it'll probably flash back up to the top texture. That's how you know it's saved. But you can also press File Save if you just want some insurance, I guess. That's all we need Cookie for, so we're going to close Cookie. And we're actually done with the body model now, so you can go to Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Compress, LZ11. You can click the body decomp that we've been using, press Open. It's going to use the name of the original, just go ahead and save over that. Yes, we want to replace it. Yep, we've successfully compressed the body, so go ahead and press OK. And now we have a compressed version. We can actually delete the decomp. We don't need it anymore, so I'm going to get rid of it. And now we have our edited body file, but we're not finished. This is the part of the tutorial where I'm going to show you how to do custom color. Like, be able to pick custom colors to use. I'm going to tell you how to rename your clothing so that it has a custom name in game, and also how to do a custom description for your clothes. This involves the Clothes.se English. Now, a bit of a little disclaimer here. If you're going to use multiple clothing mods that all have multiple Clothing.se Englishes, you can't all use them all at once. But if you want to use multiple clothing mods, you can use the same Clothes.se English over and over again to add more and more custom clothing to your mod. So if you have 3 pieces of custom clothing, you can use this same file to rename them all and use them. So the first step of this is to figure out what piece of clothing in-game you want to replace, which brings us back to the ROM-FS documentation and the wiki. So let's say there's a piece of clothing in-game that you don't really like and you never use it. For this example, let's use the checkered trim dress because it's right in front of me and it's easy to find. Let's say I don't really like this, I don't use it in game, and I want my custom clothing to be over this one. Well, okay, so we're going to go back to the ROM-FS documentation and we're going to Control F and we're going to look for checkered. Here's the checkered trim dress. It's called check piping. We need to remember this. This is very important. But, most importantly, it's called 409 in the files. So you're going to go ahead and open up where our exported body that we just edited is, and we're going to press rename, and we're going to, instead of 315, we're going to call it 409. That means when the game reads it, it's actually going to replace the checkered trim dress instead of the camisole that I made. It's going to our custom clothing is going to replace whatever number you name this. So like if you want to replace the traveler gear, you would name it 396, you know, and on and on and on. So whatever number you make this is what clothing it's going to replace in the game. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm trying to be as helpful as I possibly can, because when I was learning this I was very confused, because like I said, this tutorial by Windstriker is extremely good. I'm just very bad with written tutorials. Okay, so now that we've named it that, and remember, we need to remember this number and we need to remember this BD check piping, but we can keep the ROM documentation open so that we have it for reference. Now that we've renamed it, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use Karameru, Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Decompress, General, and this time we're going to click Close US English. So go ahead and click that and press Open and press Save. It's going to decompress the clothes, and now you have it available over here. So go ahead and drag and drop this into Karameru. You're going to see a bunch of folders: ArcBase, ArcVoice, and the Close US Decomp in general. You're going to need a few things from in here. First things first, we're going to start with the custom colors. So this is going to be a bit more of an involved process because I want to teach you how to be able to have a custom color selection on your item. So we need to extract this close MSP, so just right click it and press extract, put it in your folder that we're working in. And we need to go to ArcBase and body name, not body name P, body name. Right click, extract, put it in the folder we're working in. Now that you have both of them in this folder, we're gonna close Karameru for now. So just close it completely. We can't have it open or it's gonna mess with our process. So we have these two here. Then now we're going to be using the attribute editor by Abdi. This is a CMD prompt command runner program. So it's a bit different to our other sort of things that we've been using. It's not a program as much as it is a CMD. So in the Tomodachi Enterprise Discord, Abdi has written out the usage for this. So we're going to, I will leave these strings in my description, but just know that Abdi is the creator of this program. They deserve all the credit for it, but I will leave these strings of text in the description. First, we need this one, so we're going to copy that. Now, up in the search bar here of the attribute editor folder, make sure you're in the attribute editor folder. Just click it and write CMD. It's going to bring up the command prompt. Once you're in command prompt, just control paste that text that you have copied. And now we're going to go over to where our two extracted files, close and body name, are. You're going to right click the search bar here and press copy address as text. You're going to backspace all of this to the very first right there and press Control V. Next to mod, we're going to write backslash and then body underscore name dot msbt. Then press a space, press Control V, do a backslash clothes dot msbp. Press enter. You'll see that it says structure JSON and data JSON have been created. You can close this CMD for now. Inside your attribute editor folder, go to data and go to data again. And this is where you can edit all the code for the colors. So personally, I'm using a program called Visual Studio Code. You can download this online. And I will make sure it's added to the description since I forgot to mention it in the beginning, my bad. But I will make sure it's added to the beginning of the video when I put in all the programs that you need, and I will link a download to it because you will need this. It's the easiest code studio to use in my opinion for this specific thing. So, you remember in the documentation this BD check piping. We need to keep this in mind when we're looking. So you can just go into the program, press Control F as usual, and just type in checkered. And we want to double check, so checkered trim dress. So we need to find checkered trim dress specifically. So let's go ahead and not do that. Press the right thing. Short checkered dress. Here it is. And it says BD check piping. So this is the correct one. And it also has the correct ID. So you go down a little bit and you can see all the colors right here that it can be. And you can pick from a long list of colors. This is where this other one comes in, structure. Just open that. And now with structure, you do not edit anything that is in this in the structure one. Only the data one you should be editing. Do not edit this one with the structure. But you can use it as a resource to be able to look at all the available colors that are in Tomodachi Life. So you just scroll down, you can see all these colors that are available for Tomodachi Life clothes. There's tons of colors. And you can look in game and see which ones you like. You can reference clothing from each one to see and just all that stuff. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to pick some different colors to make my dress available in. So let's do pink. Let's do a dark. Let's do dark red. Let's keep the reddish brown. Let's keep the olive. Let's do a different blue. So let's do cadet blue. And let's do yellow. Let's do normal yellow. Gold and white are also okay. Let's keep all those. So once you've edited that, you can close the structure JSON. Once you've edited the data JSON, just press Control S. You can also file save if you want some reassurance. And that will save the colors that you've edited. And I know it says for the checkered trim dress, but remember, our dress is going to be replacing this dress in game. So I want the colors to be for what we want our dress to be. So go ahead and press Control S, and then you can exit out of the data. Now that you're done editing the colors, you're going to go back into the attribute editor folder. And again, we're going to do CMD. And this time we're going to be using this code down here. So you're going to go ahead and Control C that, copy that, paste it here, and just press enter. That's all you need to do. And then it'll say output MSBT has been generated in the data folder. That's great. You can close this window now. And in the data folder, there it is, output MSBT. So what we're going to do with this next is we're actually going to reopen Karameru. So I'm going to open my Karimu folder and open Karameru. And we're going to put the close US English LZ decomp back into Karameru. And go into ArcBase, and where it says body name, right click replace. We're gonna go over to the attribute editor folder, go to data, click output, press open. It'll say body name MSBT has been replaced with output MSBT. Press OK, press Control S to save it, and you can also again press this if you want some reassurance. And it will be saved in this decomp folder. You can get rid of these body name and close things. We don't need those anymore. And now we don't want to recompress this just yet. We actually want to take the ArcBase and extract the whole thing. Just extract it into the folder that you're working. So you're gonna have this new folder show up called ArcBase. In here is a bunch of all kinds of stuff. All we need to worry about for our custom clothing piece is the body name P, and body description. In Karameru, you're going to click on Karimu, wait for it to open, and you can drag and drop body name in here. You can create a backup if you feel you need one. I'm not going to create one, but it is a good idea to create one, but you don't need to. Press Control F, And remember, for me, I'm replacing the checkered dress. You don't have to replace the checkered dress in your mod, but so far we have been replacing that. So I'm gonna look for checker, and I remember from the documentation that it is called check piping, so it would be this one here. Checkered trim dress. I'm gonna call mine the Mario Star dress, because that's what the design was. Once you type whatever you want to call it in, just press Control S, and then we're going to drag and drop in body name P. I'm not gonna make a backup. Press Control F. It should remember your search, so you can just click on what it is. And again, in body name P, we also want to write the name of it, so I'm gonna write Mario Star dress. Press Control S. And then one last thing, body description, drag and drop. I'm not going to create a backup, but you should do as I say, not as I do. And then check piping. And then I'm going to write a little description. So I'm going to write a cute dress based on the star from Mario. You can write whatever you want. And that's all you need to do in Karimo. Now you're done with Karimo, you just exit out of it. Now we have our new files here, body name P, body name, and body description. So in body name P, you're gonna right click it, replace, find yours in your ArcBase folder that we've extracted and we're just editing in Karimo, and replace it with the new one. It'll say it's been replaced with body name P has been replaced with body name P, press OK. Body name, replace, go to your ArcBase, body name, it'll say it's been replaced with the same thing. And lastly, body description, ArcBase, body description, and it'll be replaced. Press Control S, and you can leave the ArcBase folder and go back to where you have your English decomp. Press Control S, make sure to save this, and you can delete this ArcBase folder, we don't need it anymore. Now, you gotta do Tools, Compression, Nintendo, Compress, LZ11. Go into the folder where you have your Close US English Decomp, here it is, and just press Open, and then go ahead and save. It'll ask you if you want to replace it, press Yes. And it's been successfully compressed. Press OK. You can close Caramero. You can close your folder for Attribute Editor. You can close everything except for this. We don't need the decomp anymore, so just delete it. And now we have our two items, our custom clothing and our custom name/colors. Now, if you want to see this in your game, I use Citra. I haven't tested on normal 3DS hardware, so I sadly cannot instruct you on that, but I can instruct you on how to put it in Citra. Go to Tomodachi Life, go to mods location. I already have mods that I use in this game, so I have a bunch of stuff here. I'm actually going to put my mods in a separate folder for now because I just want to showcase the stuff that I just made here today in this tutorial. And I don't want my mods getting in the way of that, so I'm just going to put my mods elsewhere for now. But if you do not have any mods yet, you're going to probably open up to a blank ROM-FS folder. So, inside of here, we want to do a new folder, and you're going to call this message, and then do another new folder, and call that model. Click the message folder, and inside the message folder, do another new folder, and call that clothes. Open that and put this inside of there. So close US English, inside close, inside message, inside ROMs. Take note of the capitalization of these folders, it's important. Inside model, go ahead and make a new folder and call that body. You can put the body file that you made inside of there. Okay, here we are in Tomodachi Life. I have a testing save that I've made that has all the clothes unlocked so that we can actually see if our stuff worked. If you do not have a testing save with everything unlocked, just know that whatever piece of clothing you unlock, or like you replace with the modded clothing, if you don't have it unlocked in your game yet, it will not show up in the store until that piece of clothing that you replaced
quote-unquote shows up in the store. So I'm going to go to import wear because the dress that I used is actually an import dress. So I'm going to go to import wear and we're going to see if the Mario Star dress worked. So we're going to enter import wear. We're going to see if it's in here. There it is. Okay. Here it is. Look, it worked. And there it is in game. So here's the Mario Star dress that I made. And you can see it works. It looks good. And it's got custom colors. Here's the pink that we chose in the code editor thing. Here's the red that we chose. Here's the dark red. Here's the olive. Here's that other blue color. The yellow that we chose. This was the yellow that was already there, and then the white. So let's go and test it on a few Miis, just to see how it looks like on Miis in the game. So we're just gonna pick a few random Miis, and we'll just give them some random colors. And let's go in here. This is not my Let's Play save, by the way. I do have a Let's Play on this channel. This is just, like I said, it's a save for testing out clothes. My Let's Play save is not this one. So yeah, it looks pretty good. It actually like lays at a good spot on the chest too, so it doesn't look like it's too low or anything. And it does actually look like a sleeveless dress when it's on the Mii itself, so that's pretty cool. So here's Bubbles in the pink Mario Star dress. Gonna test like 3. It looks good. You can see the back and the front. And we'll just test one, last one. Oops, Jesus. We'll just test one on Matt. Yeah, it looks good. I like it. I think it actually, like, everything sits nicely and looks good in game. Oh, there it is. Cute dress based on the star from Mario. Mario Star dress, and there it is. So, yeah, this is how to make a custom clothing texture for pre-existing clothes in Tomodachi Life. Hopefully this was helpful to you, and hopefully it helps you to make a lot of nice clothes. I will make sure to link everything in the description, and I will make sure to add that code editor to the description as well, since I forgot to mention that in the beginning, but I will make sure it's mentioned in the actual tutorial. Thank you so much for watching and coming to Spazzy's classroom today. Hopefully this was helpful to you, and have fun playing Tomodachi Life. Stay groovy! Bye-bye!